words and bear witness to my vow. Night gathers, and now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory. I shall live and die at my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards from the realm of men. I pledge my life and honor to the Night's Watch for this night and all the nights to come.
Winter is coming.
Sticking with the pointy end.
I know which end to use.
And the mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone.
People have been swinging at me for years, but they always seem to miss.
What did the Mad King say when you stabbed him in the back? He never asked.
A crown for a king.
He was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Is this meant to be your shield, Lord Stark? A piece of paper.
You know the first thing about sword fighting?
Sticking with the pointy end.
You think my life is some precious thing to me? That I would trade my honor for a few more years of war?
Surrounded by Lannisters. Every time I close my eyes, I see their blonde hair and their smug, satisfied faces.
Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? And welcome to the first live stream of the channel. I've been, for the last couple of days, trying to figure out streaming and all that stuff, so you guys let me know what do you think of
Age of Westeros.
wait, I just clicked something that I shouldn't have. So you guys let me know how that intro, if you like the intro. I don't know if there's anybody in the chat right now. If there's anybody watching, please say hello. But regardless, we're going to just do this like a normal reaction that I do, and see how this goes. I actually hope that I was going to be able to make that community post a little bit earlier, so more people would be able to see it, hopefully. But that's just how it kind of went, that it was a bit last minute of a post. But we're figuring this out as we go along, guys. Hopefully in the future it's going to be better, the next one that I do. I also thought of maybe like doing the live recording and then just doing it like a video watch along with you guys, but I thought, you know what, why not try a live stream, like an actual live stream, and we'll see how it goes. And if you guys tune in, if you don't tune in, it's still going to be available later on, like a proper replay video. Yeah, maybe I'll wait a little bit to see if you guys will come in. If anybody's in, again, say hi. Don't be shy. Say hello in chat. I'm giving it, I'm giving you guys a few more minutes, and then regardless of who joins, we're just going to go ahead with the reaction. Hello. How are you doing? The 1200? Did I say it right? The numbers always mess me up whenever I try to say like numbers past 100 in English. Is it 1200? Right? Films podcast. How are you doing today? How's your weekend been? I'm currently waiting for you guys and drinking a glass of beer. Just getting myself ready for jumping into the history and the lore of Game of Thrones, the first season at least. I hope everything is great, and I hope your Sunday, which I assume is Sunday, is going well. That's great. This is what I want from my streams, is for you guys to just be able to sit down with me, watch something, and just grab a snack, something to drink, and let's just have a good time. Γεια σου φίλο μου Παναγιώτη, συνονόμαται. Τι κάνεις? Hello. If it's possible, to anybody who is in the chat who is Greek, just speak in English, since the stream is going to be in English. It will be easier for the rest of the people to just understand what's going on, right? But how are you doing, Panayotis? How has your weekend been? I know it's late for us. This is a late stream. It's almost 12 p.m. right now in Greece, but that's the thing when you have to match up with times from across the world to be able to get as many people as possible to watch this live stream. But I hope your weekend has been great and you're not too sad for Monday. It was fine. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Did you guys do anything exciting? I didn't. It was a pretty boring weekend, to be honest, for me. Some relatives from America. Oh, that's great. Have you lived in the US at all? Do you travel back and forth from the US? I haven't been. I'd love to go. Guys, in about 6 minutes. I'm going to start the reaction. Just give it a little bit more time for more people, hopefully, to join. But again, as I said in the beginning, for anybody who wasn't there, this is still going to be available, of course, later on for your viewing whenever you want to see it, like a normal VOD. Oh, you haven't. I'd assume you'd like to visit, seeing that you have relatives from the US. A big Greek diaspora, guys, in the US, if you didn't know. But then again, there's a big, from every ethnicity, it's the US, so everybody's there, if we're being honest. So guys, how about you give me you know, some pointers, some things that I need to watch out, maybe, while doing this reaction to the history and lore. I'm not quite sure what this is like. I assume I have the video open, so I'm seeing like, is it going to be a narration from the characters about different parts of, I guess, Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms and the gods, the old and the new gods. That's what I assume this is, and like they explain it in like a storytelling type of way. Other Spence. I think the most shocking of season 1. Ooh, there were a lot of shocks for me. Definitely Ned's death. I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's going to be it was the most shocking for me. If you guys saw in the videos. By the way, you're going to have to excuse again. There's a lot of sound going on right outside my window. I'm right on top of a street, guys. So you're going to hear a lot of yelling, a lot of cars, a lot of motorcycles, because this is so normal here in Greece, especially the motorcycles and the driving crazy. So again, I'm really sorry. Hopefully in the future the sound is going to be a little bit better. But yeah, I wouldn't say that Ned's death was the most shocking, only because if you guys saw my reactions, I was pretty, like, I was scared for Ned, because he was such a prime character to be killed off. Usually the type of father figures, the type of characters that the audience feels like they can depend on to feel a little bit, you know, to calm down a little bit. They know they're a good person who's going to do the right thing for everybody. They usually die. That's the sad part. Those characters usually get killed off a lot in shows, but maybe not as early. So I was kind of hoping that Ned would live on for at least one more season. But yes, it was pretty shocking. I will say the most shocking probably was how early they killed off Viserys. That was the most shocking for me. I thought he was going to last at least until the end of the first season, at least the final few episodes, at least, to be honest. So that was probably the most shocking for me. But Ned's death, definitely. I was speechless for a good amount of time. I even cut some of that time out in the reaction because it was just too long of me just sitting there saying nothing. Yeah, the horror scene. It's just that they never, like, I was not prepared at all. He just ran up in there. It was such a wholesome moment between Fedora and Bran, and he just, out of nowhere. Yeah, no, I know, Panayori, I know. That was besides the point. Like, we know that Sampen is going to get killed, we know that. But, like, just the character as well. He was the type of character who I always assume is going to get killed. Hello, cat. Hello, Mama Cat. How are you doing? I hope you're having a good weekend. And I hope this is not a bad time in Boston to tune in and watch the stream. I've been chatting a little bit at the beginning, waiting for you guys to come in chat. Hopefully you're having a great day. Ooh, Robert's death. That's a good one, Dennis. Hello, Dennis, by the way. I don't think I said hi to you officially. Yes, Robert's death, yes. Actually, that might have been the most shocked I was. Probably, now that I think about it. I was not expecting, especially him to get killed off screen like that. I was not expecting that at all. Not at all. So that's a good point. That's a good point. I don't think it's every role that he dies, but yeah, it's a meme. Sampen gets killed a lot. Yeah, right? So unexpected. It really came out of nowhere. 1 minute he was going out hunting, and the next scene the next time we catch him, he bleeds. No, he doesn't bleed. He dies in his bed a scene later. And I'm going to be honest, I still, like, after that scene when Ned walked out of the king's room, the king's bedroom, I actually, like, was thinking, wait, he's not dead yet, right? Like, I was thinking they're going to show him again, but then the season just continued, like, and they just assumed, we had accepted that Robert was just dead. I was not ready. I hadn't accepted it yet. And I wasn't a big fan of Robert at the very beginning of the show, but then I ended up really, really enjoying his character a lot. I was very sad. I was very sad when he died, guys. I saw Bran getting pushed off before Jaime did it. Like, the way they were shooting it and the way they were showing it, I was like, he's going to push him off. I already had heard of the Lannisters being like the worst type of people, so I was kind of expecting him to push him off. So that I wouldn't say that was the most surprising. It was still like, for a first episode finale, it let me know what I was in for with this show, definitely. There will be more shocking, but... Oh yeah, I'm sure. Guys, by the way, please be careful with spoilers, anything. I'm not saying that you said anything that was that had anything in it with regarding what happens. I'm just saying, like, of course you guys know I'm only in the first season, and you might get, as you start talking about the show, just be careful, don't slip up and say anything that is going to be spoilery, please. But yeah, I expect many more, even worse deaths in the upcoming seasons, definitely. Yeah, I know you are, Panagiotis. You wouldn't spoil anything for me, I'm sure. Still a sweet summer child. I'm waiting to see when I'm going to finally graduate into, what is the next title after Sweet Summer Child? What's the next rank up? What do I become after I get past? I assume this is I'm a Sweet Summer Child until the summer season has ended, right? And we've entered winter, right? Panagiotis, I've thought so. I already kind of teased it. I really want to watch The Last of Us. Winter Soldier. Wait, what? Are we the Avengers now? The Winter Soldier? Is that right? Actually, what it is, or are you just fooling with me? I want to be a Winter Soldier. But yeah, Panagiotis, I really want to do The Last of Us, the series, only because I'm just a massive fan of the games. But I didn't watch the series while it was airing. But I heard really good things. I was very skeptical of the series, but I heard really good things, and I really want to watch it. So that's probably the next one as far as series goes that I'll start on the channel. But if you have any recommendations, guys, about another series that you'd like me to watch, or a movie, please feel free to let me know, and I'll definitely add them to the list. You just totally made that up. Okay, I see how it is. But it has to do something with winter, right? Because I'll be honest, I've seen now that I did the first reaction, I actually watched some reactions of the first season, and I saw some comments about them upgrading, and it was about not being a sweet summer child anymore, and it had to do something with winter something, but I don't quite remember the comments. Okay, Mama Cat, okay. I guess I'll have to find out by myself. Guys, by the way, just let me know, is the audio good? Am I too close to the mic? Should I lower the volume a little bit? Just let me guys know, first time streaming. I just want to make sure I am not blowing your ears off. And hopefully like cars and motorbikes stop passing every 2 seconds in a little bit. At least when we start the reaction, which we should be starting any minute now. Hello Taylor, I assume, right? It's Mac Taylor. If I still have my 2000s numbers instead of letters understanding, right? Sounds good? Great. Does it sound good to all of you guys? By the way, guys, correct, yes. I remember when that was a thing. Yeah, early 2010s, right? When everybody was doing that with numbers instead of letters. Maybe a little bit earlier than that too. By the way, guys, I have some interesting chat commands. So if you do exclamation point and a name from a character of the show, some things might pop up if you're interested in that. Some lines or some, just try it. For example, exclamation point Joffrey, for example. Just wanted to add some things, messing around with stream elements, just for some fun things in chat. I think the saying will be the North remembers. I see. But they are called something, right? They are called something. And I'm trying to remember too what that is. So 3 more minutes, guys, and I'm going to start the reaction. I don't want to have you guys waiting too long. But I'm also enjoying this chat about whatever before we start. I'm happy you guys are here. I'm sorry again for the short notice with the community post, but this is a bit of a last second stream. Hopefully in the future it will be better communicated, so you guys probably have more time to just see what you want to do. But I'm very glad that you guys are here, the ones of you who are here. And yeah, should we start the reaction, guys? Let me know. Or do you have any more questions regarding my feelings for the first season? I'm very excited to start the second season, which we should be starting next week. And I've been thinking about it since I finished the first one. About a series, I suggest Lucifer, The Walking Dead. Okay, so I have not seen The Walking Dead. It's another series that I'm probably one of the only people in the world who has not watched. So yeah, definitely, I'd be interested. I have a friend who is a massive Walking Dead fan, massive. So he has let me know of how good that show is. So I do want to start that on as well. The movies: The Rock, The Kingdoms of Heaven, The Last Samurai. I know of The Last Samurai. Okay, thank you, Panayori, for the recommendations. Right, that's what I've heard. That is quite amazing. Just don't forget, with the lore, you may think this topic was covered by each person who described things as different. Oh, I see what you're saying, Mama Cat. So since the lore is explained by the characters, I assume each of them has a different perspective on what happened, right? Or what has happened? Is that what you're saying? I see. Guys, am I going to have to deal with Joffrey explaining lore to me? I really don't want to have to deal with Joffrey explaining anything right now to me. That will be the worst. so just let me know. Yeah, it's explained by the characters, right? I don't like the laughing emojis. He's going to start explaining, like, I don't know, how to be a king when you're not a legitimate child of the king. I'm going to have a perpetual I don't like this face if Joffrey starts talking. Oh no. Oh. Don't tell me I'm going to have to listen to Viserys explaining something. He's probably going to be talking about dragons or how great he is. Oh god. He is. I assume they're all going to be in character, right? So they didn't just take the actors and said, do this voiceover for us. I assume they explain as their characters, as you guys said. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to like Viserys. I'm joking. Hopefully he does a good job with narrating. Yeah, I'd be scared if he wasn't smug. If they are in character, it would have been very weird if he was like normal all of a sudden. You could. See, that's the thing. If he has a good like narrator's voice, if he has a calm voice, a soothing voice, I can see that. I honestly wasn't paying too much attention to how he sounded, just because whenever he was on screen, I was fuming. Because he was doing something stupid 99% of the time. But yeah, I can see that. Oh, is Emilia Clarke going to be narrating? That would be my favorite part of the video. Is Arya going to have a narration part? The best thing about lore videos are the amazing one-liners. Oh, so I should be looking out for those. Apollon, welcome by the way. Again guys, thank you all of you who is in here. I've been stalling to start the reaction, just waiting for maybe a couple more people to just tune in, and we'll be ready to go. But as I said at the very beginning, as we wait for this motorbike again to pass by, as I said at the very beginning, this obviously will be available as a VOD later, to just for you guys to be able to just watch as a normal reaction. Should we start, guys? I think it's time. I think we have enough people. That we should be good to go. Yeah, guys. Let's. I have the YouTube video. I assume this is what everybody else is reacting to. So this should be the right? It's this video, right? I was born ready. I'm happy. I'm glad. I wasn't, but we are going in, and hopefully, Viserys doesn't annoy me too much whenever he talks. Okay, guys. Again, grab a drink, something to eat, whatever, snack, something, and let's jump in the reaction.
Before the coming of man and the raising of castles and cities, there were only the children of the forest. Little is known of them now, but it is said they were small in stature, dark and beautiful, and no taller than children when grown to manhood. They lived in the depths of the forests in hidden villages, crannogs and caves. They hunted with weirwood bows and armed themselves with blades of obsidian. Their wise men were called green seers and were possessed of a powerful magic. They worshipped nameless, faceless gods of the forest, stream and stone. According to legend, it was they who carved faces in the great white trunks of the majestic weirwoods.
Oh, guys, by the way, I'm going to be pausing so please excuse the posing, but I must. So like these are the trees, right, that John, Sam, and those at the Night's Watch were taking their oath in front of, right? Am I saying this correctly, guys? By the way, I can't see chat right now. That's a bit unfortunate. Oh, right. Unfortunately, guys, I might not be able to see chat while doing the reaction, just because I'm working with a single monitor setup. So I might just do each narration, and then take a look at chat again, see what you guys are saying, see what you guys are talking about. Yeah, Mama Cat, always, like, especially in a video like this, I couldn't do it anyway, any way else, because I want to make sure that I'm understanding what I'm listening, and since I have you guys here, you'll be able to just inform me about things. Don't forget to take 14 pages of notes. I see. See, this is why I should have come better prepared. I was actually thinking about taking notes, but I think that I'm such a slow writer that by the time I wrote the first note, I'd have missed like another 5 important things on the video. But I did think of bringing something to write notes on. Maybe in the next one. I have seen reactors not pause and miss many things. Yeah, guys, but again, like, especially like in a live stream, it can be difficult sometimes when you're trying to see what's going on in chat and then also doing the reaction. But as I told you guys, I'm going to try and do like one part where the character finishes narrating, then I'm going to check back with you guys on the chat, or if I have a question, I'll pause and then ask you guys, and you'll tell me if I'm right, wrong, whatever. Just rewatch a few times. Yeah, I could do that. That's definitely something that I could do. But I just, like, it could be like a 5-hour reaction if we keep doing that. But yeah, definitely. I've fallen what? Okay. Again, guys, I will not be able to see chat as long as I'm seeing the video. Again, these are things that we're going to work on for the next stream, for it to be even better, but I'm just new to this completely, so I'm trying to see what works. Can't you get the chat on your phone? Oh, that's a good idea, actually. That's a good idea. Let's see. That's not a bad idea at all. That's not a bad idea at all, Dennis. Right, let's see. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to see. Give me a second, guys. Give me a second. Shouldn't be this hard to get chat up from a live stream. It really shouldn't. Shouldn't be this hard to get chat up from a live stream. It really shouldn't. Shouldn't be this hard to get chat up from a live stream. Hello, Ori. Hello, Ori. Hello, how are you? Hope you're having a great weekend. Welcome, as I'm trying to troubleshoot something live and failing miserably because I'm just clueless about streaming and stuff. That's crazy. Why can't I find... What is going on here? We could, by the way, we could also, if you guys are good with it, since I'm failing miserably at just everything right now, we could also just have you guys open here and do this. We could also do that, but again, it's up to you guys. If you guys think that that's cool. Is this cool enough for you guys? And just can have the chat right on the right side. Just the video will be a bit smaller. That works. That works, guys. It really shouldn't be that difficult for me to be able to pop out the stream chat on mobile. I don't understand what's going on. It could be because I'm using like a third-party browser app. That could be the issue, why I can't find the chat. But I can't be bothered with the official YouTube app, personally. Yeah, we could do this, guys. Like, this is, you know, it's narration mostly with some imagery, I assume. So I could do this and have you guys on the side, just so that I'm able to see what you guys are saying. Again, sorry for all the time that I was just wasting trying to figure out how to pop out chat on a phone, which should not be this difficult. But yeah, let's continue. So Bran is narrating, and I'm going to start it from the beginning, obviously, because I talked way too much. And yeah, we'll try this and see how it goes.
In the dawn age of Westeros, before the coming of man and the raising of castles and cities, there were only the children of the forest. Little is known of them now, but it is said they were small in stature, dark and beautiful, and no taller than children.
Thank you, I appreciate the support.
They lived in the depths of the forests in hidden villages, crannogs and caves. They hunted with weirwood bows and armed themselves with blades of obsidian. Their wise men were called green seers and were possessed of a powerful magic. They worshipped nameless, faceless gods of the forest, stream and stone. According to legend, it was they who carved faces in the great white trunks of the majestic weirwoods. Their deep-cut eyes were red with sap and ever watchful.
So that was, right, when we watched the episode, the red things, right? That was them.
12,000 years ago, the first men came from the eastern continent, crossing a land bridge called the Arm of Dawn.
The eastern continent. By the way, guys, sorry again for pausing. I have a map right here, which is like, I just googled Game of Thrones season 1 map. I thought maybe it would make it easier, like, to be able to catch everything and like understand a bit of the where everything is. I live in Westeros more than my own country. Guys, is this like a good map for the first season? Like, is this an accurate map? Can you guys see the map first of all? Yeah. So like, is this a good map, right, regarding what this video that I'm watching now talks about, or is it just useless? If you guys know. Can you guys see the map? guys. Okay, it's good, it looks good, it's to give you a good perspective on stuff. It's mostly focused on Westeros, right? So this right here, we're focusing on the pink mass of land in this video, in this lore. Okay, because I'm trying to understand like what they mean when they say they came from the east. So is it like the east of Westeros, or just completely east? Anyway, this is probably just too much like information to try to keep up from the beginning. Let's just listen and we'll see.
Of bronze, they cut down the children's forests and weirwoods. A terrible war raged between the children and the first men that lasted for centuries. At long last, the two races sought an end to the years of horror and bloodshed. They met on a small isle in the centre of a great lake called the God's Eye.
The God's Eye.
It was there
okay.
they forged the pact. The first men would be granted dominion over the coastland, the mountains, the high plains and the bogs, but the deep forest would forever belong to the children, and no weirwood tree would ever again fall to man's axe. To seal the pact before the gods, the children carved a face in every weirwood tree on the island, which came to be known as the Isle of Faces.
Oh wow!
But the pack could not
Every
withstand
single
the coming
tree?
of the Andals, a race of tall, fair-haired warriors. They attacked with fire and weapons of steel, slaughtering the children of the forest wherever they could find them, burning out their weirwood groves, hacking away at the faces of the old gods, and spreading their own religion through the land. Centuries of war followed, and the Andals conquered every kingdom in Westeros, save one, the North. The Kings of Winter were able to withstand the Andal invasion, and descendants of the first men dwell there to this day, and continue to worship the old gods. As for the children of the forest, those who survived the slaughter were said to have fled far north and have not been seen again. Most assume they're long dead, and some don't believe they ever existed. They live on only through song and legend, and in the faces of the weirwood trees.
Oh wow! Oh wow! So we don't even know if that's like, it could be just folklore. It could be just a story that was perpetuated to explain the wood carvings, possibly. That was interesting, the way he ended that. Somebody mentioned, I don't remember who it was, like the last lines of this are very, very good. That was it makes you think what he said at the end. Like, Bran explained the story, but then at the end tells you could have been true, could have been false, and that's usually how it is with mythology, especially when back then it was word to mouth, and whoever believed it, whoever didn't care. That was cool. So that was Bran Stark. Or does he narrate the second one as well?
When Aegon the Conqueror
he does.
invaded Westeros, he had 7 kingdoms to contend with. The Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of the Mountain and the Vale, the Iron Islands, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach, the Stormlands, and Dorne. These regions had been established...
Okay, so we have those. So we have those right here. Oh! Bran explains the Andals. Remember they called Jorah with Dany Jorah the Andal. Oh, they did? They did. I actually didn't remember that. So Jorah is right, is an Andal, But we have here the 7 kingdoms. Yeah, his ancestors, yeah. That's interesting. I actually didn't remember that at all. So thank you for reminding me. Mama Cat. But yeah, they talked about the kingdoms, right? We have, let's just, the Vale of Erin, the Riverlands, Iron Islands, which is where Greystone comes from, if I remember correctly, the Westerlands, the Reeds, Dorne, and the Stormlands. And I'm not missing anything, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see, Apollon. So we don't really like... They might call him that, right? But again, just because they say that he is of something doesn't mean that that's actually what he is. At least what we know from the first season. I don't know later on what happens with Jorah and what we found out about Jorah in the later seasons. Okay, so I assume this is going to be about how the 7 kingdoms came to be. Let's listen.
Before, in the Age of Heroes. One hero of this fabled age was Bran the Builder. Bran raised the wall and built the stronghold of Winterfell.
Is Bran named after this hero, by any chance? Or is the name Bran? Like, do people name their kids Bran because of this tale?
Establishing House Stark and reigning as the first king in the north. Other legends tell
House
of
Stark.
the Grey King in the Iron Islands. Grey King took a mermaid to wife and defeated Naga, the first sea dragon.
These are like
House Greyjoy of
the
Pike,
houses,
current
like the
rulers of
names,
region, claim to descend
the
from him.
backstory, the how they
House
supposedly
Casterly
started.
ruled the
Right?
gold-rich Westerlands from their mighty seat of Casterly Rock. But their lands and power were swindled from them
Right,
by
Apollon.
the legendary
Definitely
trickster,
that.
Lan the Clever. The noble house of Lannister is said to have descended from him. The verdant and fertile lands of the Reach
Wait,
were
how
first
did he
ruled by
say?
House
What was his
Garden,
name? What was his name?
First sea dragon.
Wait.
House Greyjoy of Pike, the current rulers of the region, claim to descend from him. House Casterly ruled the gold-rich Westerlands from their mighty seat of Casterly Rock. But their lands and power were swindled from them by the legendary trickster, Lan the Clever. The noble house of Lannister is said to have descended from him.
So the Lannisters, from the very beginning, were upstaging kings. From the very beginning, they were the scum of this earth. And the tradition has carried on. At least that's what the story says about the Lannisters. Interesting. Good to know.
The fertile lands of the Reach were first ruled by House Gardener, whose founder, known as Garth Greenhand, wore a crown of flowers and vines. He ruled from Highgarden as the first king of the Reach, and was said to have made the land bloom. Many noble houses trace their bloodlines back to him, including the current lords of Highgarden, House Tyrell. In the Stormlands, according to ballads of the age, a warrior named Durin fell in love with Elenai, whose father was god of the sea and mother was goddess of the wind. She gave her maidenhead to him, committing herself to a mortal life. Enraged, her parents called upon the winds and waters, destroying Darren's Bayside keep and wiping out his wedding guests. Darren declared war on the gods and rebuilt his keep, which was also destroyed. 4 more castles he raised, each stronger than the last. All fell to the power of the gods. But Darren's 7th castle, Storm's End, withstood the gods' rage. Darren became known as Darren Godsgrief, and reigned as the first Storm King. There are countless other tales from the Age of Heroes, too many to count. These histories weren't recorded in a book, but passed down from generation to generation
What we talked
through
about?
story and song. And while some of them may be dismissed as fairy tales, every one of the 7 kingdoms is defined by them.
No god. Viserys is next. Okay. Let's prepare myself. Apparently he does a good job. But yeah, that was an interesting, in a sense, origin of the 7 kingdoms, but also like of the families that we know of and that we've heard of in the show. You know, usually we heard, for example, Greyjoy, how he was talking about, you know, his legacy and his family and all that stuff. Everybody in Westeros, probably, at least of the families who are considered like the higher ups, like the lords and that sort of thing, they have all grown up hearing about the tales of their forefathers, very similar to how it happens today, right? Where people are proud of ancestors and what their ancestors did and all that stuff. So, you know, when you grow up as a kid hearing all these tales and all these folk stories about your people, it makes sense that they are, you know, all about their family and, you know, how family name means as much as it does, at least in Westeros, from what we've found out. Also in the show, but also in this short roundup. As Bran said, there are too many stories, right? So I assume this was just a small sample. And let's go now to Valyria and the Dragons by Viserys Targaryen.
East of Westeros lies the smoking sea, where no ship dares sail. There are those who swear it to be demon-haunted, and who's to say they're wrong? For it was there, thousands of years ago, that a cataclysmic event occurred, destroying one of the great civilizations in history. The precise details of their origins are lost to us, but it is said the Valyrians were once a modest community of shepherds, tending their flocks on a small peninsula of the great eastern continent.
That's interesting.
One fateful day, in a volcanic area known as the 14 Fires, they made a shattering discovery. Dragons. They were monsters.
I don't know why that sounded so funny to me. It was the way he said it, but also me imagining Viserys like almost orgasming talking about dragons. But also the pause before he said it was like dragons. I don't know, that was very fun to me.
Scaled creatures with massive wings, sharp claws, and fiery breath. They were also said to have a deep-rooted connection to magic. In time, the Valyrians were able to tame the beasts. Harnessing their immense power, they established a city of wonder, unlike any before or since. They became skilled at sorcery and metallurgy, creating uncommon weapons of spell-forged steel. Wielding these weapons astride their dragons, the Valyrians conquered the surrounding lands and slowly expanded west. At the time, the Giscari Empire dominated much of the great eastern continent and tried...
Giscari? I don't think we've heard of Giscari in the first season at all. Or I just don't remember it, but I think the name is distinctive enough that I would have caught it. Let's see who those people are.
To stop Valyria's expansion. The Giscari legions attacked the Valyrians 5 times, but could never defeat them. Finally, the Valyrians marched on their capital, Old Gis, and obliterated it, turning its streets and buildings to ash with dragon flame.
Damn.
And wiping the Giscari people and their culture off the face of the earth.
That's why we didn't hear of him.
The freehold of Valyria.
That's why we never heard of them in the first season, at least. They were wiped out completely, like mass genocide, and the culture, like everything. The imagery, like I assume they showed the imagery of their architecture, seemed interesting enough. Maybe we'll find out more about them in later seasons. Maybe they weren't completely wiped out.
As it came to be known, became the most advanced civilization in the known world, with its own language, gods, and culture. The Valyrians' reach extended far and wide, covering most of the continent. Great cities were built and roadways paved, all of which led back to Valyria. The freehold would prosper for nearly 5,000 years. But it was not to last. An event that became known only as the Doom laid waste to the Valyrians, their capital city, and its surrounding lands. The peninsula itself was shattered, becoming what is now the Smoking Sea. Every dragon was thought to be lost, as were the Valyrian spells, knowledge, and recorded history. Thus, the mighty empire collapsed.
So dragons pretty much suffered the same fate as dinosaurs. Is that what they're telling us?
What caused this cataclysm? No one knows for certain. Some say it was a volcanic eruption. Others say the Valyrians' own sorcery got the better of them. In any event, the Doom's devastation of the Valyrian people was total, with the exception of a small rocky island in the narrow sea. Dragonstone. For it was there
that's
the
a name.
Targaryens, the last of old Valyria, dwelled. They would lie in wait for another 100 years before unleashing the fury of the dragon on another continent, Westeros.
About one of the 3 Valyrian houses are the Targaryens. Yeah, like what he said there at the end. Like they were the last surviving houses. But didn't he say the dragons were all wiped out? Did the Targaryens... Sorry, excuse me. Did they have, like, dragons when they conquered Westeros still? Because that image, that drawing showed a dragon. So I assume, like, they had dragons. Just wait. Okay.
Night gathers, and now my watch begins. It shall not end.
Last Dragon Rider family, right? I assume those are all right from the Valyrians, or are there families outside of the Valyrians who had mastered the ability to tame and ride dragons? I assume just the Valyrians.
Until my death, I shall take no wife, hold no lands, father no children. I shall wear no crowns and win no glory.
The oath?
I shall live and die in my post. I am the sword in the darkness. I am the watcher on the walls. I am the shield that guards the realms of men.
This is Robert, right?
Life and honor to the Night's Watch.
No. Who is narrating? I missed him. Who is narrating?
To come.
Why can't I? Why am I confused?
Tells of a winter that lasted a generation, and of a vast and terrible darkness.
No, it's not
fell
Robert.
Across the land. It came to be known as the Long Night. In the midst of this darkness,
Mormons.
Emerged from the far north.
Yeah. Makes sense, right? Why would Robert be commentating on like the Night's Watch? But sorry, I was talking. Let's go back a little bit.
And all the nights to come. Legend tells of a winter that lasted a generation, and of a vast and terrible darkness that fell across the land. It came to be known as the long night. In the midst of this darkness, the White Walkers emerged from the far north. With their armies of the dead, they waged war against the living, laying waste to villages and holdfasts, leaving terror and destruction in their wake. After years of brutal conflict and unbearable loss, an alliance of the First Men and the Children of the Forest managed to drive the Walkers and their minions back into the frigid northern wastelands from whence they came. To prevent another invasion, the First Men erected the Wall, a massive fortification 700 feet in height, stretching from the Frostfang Mountains in the west to the Bay of Seals in the east. It was a structure unlike any ever built. Indeed, some maintain it could only have been completed with the aid of giants, or using the powerful magic of the ancient Children of the Forest. Men were required to guard and maintain it, and thus the Night's Watch was born. A sworn
I like that how they described how the future people thought of how the wall was built. Very similar to how you hear today discussions about like the pyramids, and everyone was saying how could it be possible for them to have been built by humans. I like how they added that about the wall, because I remember, like, I don't know if it was a comment or if it was said during the show, but they mentioned that the wall was so much older, like it has existed for so much longer than the people and the events that we see in, at least in season 1 of Game of Thrones. I really liked how they did that, because it's relatable. It's how humans think about like all the wonders of the world today. How could those people back then build those things?
Brotherhood, tasked with defending the realms of men against the dark forces that lay beyond. Upon taking his vows, a brother of the Night's Watch serves for life. It is a life of hardship and great sacrifice, so the oath must not be taken lightly. The punishment for desertion is death. The Night's Watch is divided into 3 vital branches. The Rangers, the Builders, and the Stewards.
Jon Snow.
While all
represent.
Black Brothers are expected to take up steel should the need arise, the Rangers are the true warriors of the Watch. Centuries come and gone, and although the White Walkers have yet to return, another threat has emerged. Barbarian tribes known as wildlings. The Rangers are charged with defending the realm against these lawless savages. The Builders are carpenters, masons, miners, and woodsmen, tasked with maintaining the wall, as well as its various keeps, towers, and structures, which have fallen into disrepair over the years. The Stewards serve as cooks, butchers, and hunters. They tend to the horses and messenger ravens, sew clothing, gather firewood, and bring supplies up from the south. The Night's Watch is a diverse group. Proud volunteers from noble houses stand side by side with petty thieves conscripted from dungeons. Class distinctions are left behind, as are past misdeeds. A man gets what he earns on the wall, and even the lowliest gutter
what Jon's uncle told him.
Rank if he proves himself worthy. For thousands of years, the brothers of the Night's Watch have stood their lonely vigil. As the seasons changed, as brutal wars raged in the south, as dynasties rose and fell,
the Night's
Watch endured. We are the swords in the darkness. We are the watchers on the wall. We are the shields that guard the realms of men.
I really like that. I really enjoyed the lore and history of the Night's Watch, and I really enjoyed how they explained it, right? Because we see outside of the Night's Watch how important your name is, how important people are very much separated, right? The class system is very much prevalent, but I like how they explain, like in the Night's Watch, everybody, you can come in as somebody who was like a slave, a thief, whatever, and rise up the ranks if you're worth to rise up the ranks. Obviously, we saw in the first season, there can be pettiness in the Night's Watch. At least that's why some things, like regarding Jon Snow and all those things that happened. But I really like how they explained it. Like, Night's Watch is the only place in Westeros where everybody is, pretty much equal. Although they're not really, technically, but regarding their lives there, I really like that explanation. Right, Taylor? I love Jon's chapters in the books because I love the Night's Watch stories, and the thing I found it all such a bore on my first watch. I can see why some people, even watching the show, might think of the Night Watch, right? Because you go from like the backstabbing stories and all the behind the scenes manipulations and all the crazy incest and all that stuff, kings, knights in the Seven Kingdoms, to the Dothraki and the Daenerys and dragons and all that craziness over there. And then you go to Night's Watch, where it's basically just some poor souls trying to figure out how we're going to stop these potential threats from threatening the realm. And so far they have not seen much action, but where we left off in the first season, they're about to have some more action up there at the wall or beyond the wall. But I can see why some people might consider the Night Watch parts to be a bit more boring. I really enjoyed them, but because I really loved Jon Snow as a character from a very early stage in my reactions. I really liked his character. Let's go to the next one. Master Luwin.
Joining the Night's Watch, or taking the Black, is a singular honour for any northerner. For it was in the north, some 8,000 years ago, that the first man drove back the White Walkers, erected the wall, and established the sworn brotherhood that would guard the realm and its people from the dangers beyond. Regrettably, the Night's Watch no longer commands the widespread respect and admiration it once did. While House Stark and other houses in the northern regions continue to recognize its vital importance to the safety and stability of the realm, this view is not shared by the powerful houses of the southern kingdoms or their subjects. Most regard the Watch as a misguided, obsolete order made up of useless outcasts. Admittedly, the current Night's Watch is a shadow of its former glory. Their numbers have dwindled to less than 1,000.
I mean, yes, Sam was
of
there.
The 19 castles along the wall, only 3 are functional. The Shadow Tower, Castle Black, and East Watch by the Sea. And the Watch's mandate of adding to the wall has been abandoned entirely. There are barely enough resources to maintain it. Recruiting officers, known as Wandering Crows, scour the dungeons and slums of the realm in hope of finding men to fill the ranks. While there is still the occasional highborn volunteer, the newest recruits are almost entirely made up of lowly criminals. Thieves, rapists and murderers, sentenced to the wall as punishment for their crimes. The decline of this once fabled order is troubling, as the danger it guards against is all too real. While the White Walkers haven't been seen or heard from in ages, and may very well be the stuff of myth, barbarian tribes that dwell beyond the wall, known as wildlings, have been a menace to the North and its people for generations. At certain points in history, the disparate wildling tribes have united.
Are the wildlings, like, was Nymphedora, because I still have not been able to remember her name, her actual name in the show, she was like in a group of wildlings, right? Or no? Because if those were the wildlings, I really wouldn't think they would be that much of a scare when you have that wall built. Like, if you just consider, if you think that the White Walkers don't exist anymore and you only have to worry about like actual normal people, right, I think they would be less worried about the wildlings. But maybe I'm missing something.
Behind a single leader, a king beyond the wall, and attempted large-scale attacks against the realm. But thanks to the resourceful and courageous...
Hey, hello! We have our Emilia Clarke fan club member number 1 in chat. How are you doing? How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. We've started. We've done about 17 minutes of the history and lore. I've had to do some troubleshooting or whatever. We had to do some troubleshooting, and just I waited a little bit for people to join the chat. I'm glad you're here. Let's go a little bit back so that I listen again what I missed. But welcome to the stream.
Walkers haven't been seen.
Hope you're having a great weekend.
And may very well be the stuff of myth. Barbarian tribes that dwell beyond the wall, known as wildlings, have been a menace to the North and its people for generations. At certain points in history, the disparate wildling tribes have united behind a single leader, a king beyond the wall, and attempted large-scale attacks against the realm. But thanks to the resourceful and courageous men of the Night's Watch, these so-called kings were soundly defeated. While many have lost faith in the Night's Watch, the people of the North are steadfast in their belief that the Black Brothers will answer the call of duty. But with winter coming, diminished numbers, and a lack of widespread support, will they be ready?
So real quick, they talked about a wildlings king. We didn't have a mention of a wildlings king in the first season, or did we? Obviously that was something that happened in the past, but I don't recall them mentioning a wildling king, right? If I'm mistaken. Right, we'll meet him later. Is that a good or a bad thing? Is that a good or a bad thing? So he's still alive? Or right, don't answer that. I'm asking too many questions about things that I have not seen yet. I need to stop doing that. Let's just... Oh, Tywin Lannister.
Long ago in the wintry north, an army of demons emerged from beneath the icy ground and spread darkness and despair across the land. Astride their monstrous spiders, flanked by giants, they wreaked havoc on the innocent, slaughtering thousands. All hope was lost until the fearless warriors of the First Night's Watch drove them back into the wintry mountains and built a magic wall to keep them from ever invading again. These stalwart brothers in black continue to protect us even to this day from the evils that lurk in the shadows. An absurd lie. A fairy tale spun by many a wet nurse in the north.
But you guys were telling me about the different perspectives of the same events, the same situations. So of course the Lannister would not consider the Night's Watch something worth people's efforts, time, possibly money, because of the people who comprise the Night's Watch, I would assume.
To be sure, a giant wall does exist. The triumph of engineering, perhaps, but not of magic. As for the Night's Watch, there may have been a time centuries ago when there was prestige and honor in the miserable monastic life of a Black Brother. But now, the wall has become a glorified penal colony, full of outcasts, criminals, and assorted ne'er-do-wells. Today, a typical man of the Night's Watch most likely started out a lowly beggar, or a rapist, or a village idiot. As for the few high-born watchmen, they either fought on the losing side of a war, or were disowned by their parents for one reason or another. Those who persist in defending the Night's Watch will claim the Seven Kingdoms need protection from the wildling tribes of the far north.
Yes, thank you guys. I forgot that I closed the mic because for whatever reason, like they were throwing, I forget what the word is in English, but like the things that explode. Somebody was celebrating a party or something. But yeah, I had to close the mic for a little bit. So yeah, this was... Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me? I think you should. Alright. So, I was explaining what this basically is, the history and lore is. Basically, just characters from the show narrating and explaining lore, mythology, and basically telling us the backstory of a lot of things that we saw in the show, and maybe they didn't have the time to just tell us the backstory of during the actual show. So this is what this is for you who asked, and it's very interesting so far. 20 minutes basically in. Did you ever watch the Game of Thrones commentary videos? It's the cast watching the episode. I have not, but this sounds like something I'd love to watch. Probably in the future, after maybe even after I finish the show, but this would be something that I'd love to watch, definitely. I'm in Greece, Panagiotis, I'm in Greece. Right, exactly, what Mama Cat said. Okay guys, let's go back into the video.
But there's little to fear from those primitives. They're a nuisance, but not sophisticated or powerful enough to be a significant threat to the realm. And any talk of White Walkers returning with their armies of the dead and their giant spiders and their snarks is just that. Talk.
Quick pause. So Tywin Lannister was basically like, who cares about that Night's Watch, whatever. They're of no importance to me. They are low-life people with no money, no influence, and basically I don't care for them, and neither should you. Did we expect anything different from a Lannister? No.
In the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros, the dominant religion is the faith of the Seven, first brought to its shores by the Andal some 6,000 years ago.
But there are some who still keep to the old way, worshipping the faceless gods of the children of the forest, and the first men.
They should have sent a musician that Joffrey maimed to the wall. He would have been a fun addition. I'm kind of like, I kind of thought that maybe that could have actually happened, but I assume by your comment that he's not going to the wall. It would have been a great addition. It would have been a great addition. Definitely. Like, have some live music, somebody to just entertain. The Night's Watch is pretty bleak, at least so far from what we've seen. This is how you should watch the regular episodes. I don't know if YouTube would be cool with me doing live reactions of the actual episodes. I'm doing this live because people informed me that this is copyright free, so might as well do this live. I don't think YouTube would be okay with the actual episodes, live streaming them.
The old gods are countless, nameless spirits of nature. In ancient times, the children of the forest carved faces in the trunks of the weirwood trees, which became sacred symbols of their faith. In time, the first men adopted the children's gods as their own.
Wait a minute, what did I miss? Wait, that was Caitlyn in the beginning of this. It's Bran Stark and Caitlyn Tully. Okay, for a minute I was like, wait, did they just rewind the video? Why is Bran talking? But okay, let's go again from the beginning.
In the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, the dominant religion is the faith of the 7.
Yeah, I'd have to do it on Twitch. Yeah, and even then I don't know what Twitch's policy is with like full episodes of shows. And then maybe I'd have to do it without actually like showing the thing, and I don't know if that would have been ideal.
First brought to its shores by the Andal some 6,000
But let's focus here and
ago.
listen to this.
But there are some who still keep to the old way, worshipping the faceless gods of the children of the forest and the first men. The old gods are countless, nameless spirits of nature. In ancient times, the children of the forest carved faces in the trunks of the weirwood trees, which became sacred symbols of their faith. In time, the first men adopted the children's gods as their own. Most castles at that time contained a godswood with a weirwood or heart tree at its centre.
Meanwhile, across the narrow sea, a new religion was born in the hills of Andalos. According to legend, the god of 7 revealed itself to the Andals, and the invasion of Westeros followed soon after. The Andals sailed across the sea on ships armed with weapons of steel. Some warriors carved a 7-pointed star into their skin as a symbol of their new faith.
The invaders destroyed most of the weirwoods in the southern lands, slaughtered the children of the forest wherever they could find them, and conquered every kingdom of the first men, save the north. In time, the faith of the 7 spread like wildfire throughout the land. The 7 is a single deity with 7 aspects, each symbolizing a different area of life, though most people refer to the 7 as separate gods.
The mother is prayed to for mercy and watches over fertility, childbirth, and peace.
Wait.
The father sits in judgment over souls. The warrior is prayed to for protection, valor, and skill in battle. The crone is the symbol of wisdom and foresight. The smith watches over creation and craftsmanship. The maiden symbolizes purity, love, and beauty. Finally, there is the stranger, rarely prayed to, who represents death. The faith is highly organized and deeply influential.
That was so interesting, and I'm actually going to rewind again because I want to listen again. These are the old gods, I assume.
In time, the faith of the 7 spread like wildfire throughout the land.
Or was those the new gods?
The 7 is a single deity with 7 aspects.
A single deity, that's what I missed. So like this is basically a deity that represents a lot of different things. Somebody in the comments of my reactions told me Not today. That's what we said to the God of Death. Somebody told me in the comments, I don't remember who it was, if you're in the chat, shout out to you, that I don't remember if it was the new gods or the old gods, but they basically like the Holy Trinity is to Christianity today. So like it can be described by three things but basically represent one. So that's why I want to rewind to listen to this part again and just...
The seven spread like wildfire throughout the land.
Make sure I get it.
The seven is a single deity with seven aspects,
okay,
each symbolizing a different area of life.
Okay.
Though most people refer to the seven as separate gods.
Okay.
The mother is prayed to for mercy and watches over fertility, childbirth, and peace. The father sits in judgment over souls. The warrior is prayed to for protection, valor, and skill in battle. The crone is the symbol of wisdom and foresight. The smith watches over creation and craftsmanship. The maiden symbolizes purity, love, and beauty. Finally, there is the stranger, rarely prayed to, who represents death.
Okay, so those are all one
and deeply
deity.
Influential in Westerosi politics and culture as the official religion of the monarchy. Worshippers gather in temples of the faith called septs. The seat of the faith is the Great Sept of Baelor, which is located in the capital city of King's Landing.
Still, in the north, where descendants of the first men dwell, worship of the old god.
Baelor was what Ned Stark told his man to go and get Arya. So like Arya was on that monument called the Baelor. That's why he said Baelor. And the episode also, I think, was named that.
The seat of the faith is the Great Sept of Baelor, which is located in the capital city of King's Landing.
Still, in the north, where descendants of the first men dwell, worship of the old gods continues to this day.
The statue of Baelor.
And the sacred faces of the weirwood trees keep close watch over the faithful.
Baelor was the Targaryen king. Wait, so that's the statue. It was a statue of the Targaryen king that Arya was on. I do remember her being on something. So yeah, that was a good like briefing. I'm still a little bit confused about that one deity thing. So like it's one, but it represents like 7 things. Okay. Sure.
The ascension of Aegon Targaryen was confirmed, and the fate of the Seven Kingdoms sealed on the Field of Fire. Kings Loren Lannister of the Rock and Mern Gardner of the Reach stood against Aegon's invasion.
I see,
They
Mama
commanded
Cat.
a united force of 600 banners, 5,000 mounted knights, and 50,000 men-at-arms. Aegon's host was vastly outnumbered, and when the army of the two kings charged, the invaders turned heel and...
They used a comparison to the light where a light is one but can be separated into 7 colors. Wow, I actually had no idea that light could be separated into 7 colors, so thanks for that information. And that's a great comparison. That's a great comparison for a deity. That's a great, like, I really like that. So yeah. So when they say the 7 hells, they're referring, does it correlate with the deity that represents 7 different things when they said the 7 hells during the show? Or is that a different thing that I'm confusing? But I'm assuming it probably has to do with that. If it's not a spoiler, let me know.
Ran, but Andal Might was no match for Dragonflame. When Aegon unleashed, all 3 of his dragons, 4,000 souls were horrendously burned alive on the battlefield, King Mern among them. Realizing all hope was lost, King Loren surrendered. The Starks of Winterfell had no intention of submitting to Targaryen.
I see, Apollon.
They had reigned as kings in the north since the days of the First Men and were determined to resist the Targaryen invaders, just as they had resisted the Andals thousands of years before. King Torrhen Stark led his army to the Red Fork just east of Riverrun, hoping to succeed where Lorne and Mern had failed. But when Torrhen saw the size of Aegon's now mighty host, along with his monstrous dragons, he knew he couldn't subject his followers to the horror of another field of fire. He bent the knee and swore fealty to Aegon, who allowed the Starks to maintain their lordship over the region as Lords Paramount and Wardens of the North. Without question, Torrhen Stark saved thousands of lives that day. He was ever after known.
That's interesting. This is how a Stark remembers the story. It will be interesting to see if another character tells this story again, but has a different opinion on
as the king who knelt
that decision. And here's Viserys again.
The days of the Andals were numbered. One by one, their so-called kings were bending the knee or facing the wrath of Aegon Targaryen. Aegon of Old Valyria. Aegon who was blood of the dragon. After defeating the Iron Men at Harrenhal and slaying the last of the Storm Kings, Aegon and his sisters, Rhaenys and Visenya, set their sights on other prizes. The gold mines of the Rock and the fertile lands of the Reach. King Loren Lannister of the Rock and King Mern Gardener of the Reach foolishly thought their combined armies could beat back the Targaryen host. They rode forth together, their proud banners flapping in the wind, and faced off against Aegon in a vast golden field of wheat. The two kings commanded a massive force of nearly 60,000, and it appeared the day was theirs, until Aegon unleashed all 3 of his dragons for the first and only time.
The cheat codes.
Each beast was named after the Valyrian gods of Aegon's forefathers. Visenya rode Vhagar, whose fiery breath could melt armor. Rhaenys rode Meraxes, whose jaws were big enough to swallow a horse whole. Greatest of all was Balerion the Black Dread, with fire dark as night and wings so huge whole towns were covered in shadow when he flew overhead.
What?
This magnificent creature was ridden by Aegon himself. 4,000 men
OP,
were
that's
bathed
overpowered.
in glorious dragon flame that day, on what came to be known as the Field of Fire. King Mern was among the dead, and House Gardener died with him. His stewards, the Tyrells, surrendered his ancestral stronghold of Highgarden to Aegon, and were appointed Lords Paramount of the Reach and Wardens of the South. When Loren Lannister witnessed Mern's fate, he wisely bent the knee. Aegon spared Loren's life, and the Lannisters were made Lords Paramount of the Westerlands and Wardens of the West.
Big mistake.
After his triumph on the Field of Fire, Aegon's conquest was assured. In a short time, the so-called 7 kingdoms were melted down in the heat of the dragon's flame and transformed into a single realm. Aegon would forever be known as Aegon the Conqueror.
So this was a good, giving us an idea of how the Targaryens, how they conquered the 7 kingdoms and Westeros. Also giving us a great idea of how insane the dragons were, which I'm hoping we'll eventually see in the show down the line. But that was really, really cool. At least that's how Viserys knows the story to be. But it does sound very accurate with what we have seen in the show and what they are saying that happened. But again, we can't exactly know any of these, how accurate they are. It's just, again, it's tales, basically. The orders of masters. Okay, so this is his people.
In the far southwest of Westeros, at the mouth of the river Honeywine, lies the great stone city of Old Town. It is home to the Citadel, where men and boys from throughout the kingdoms come to receive their training as maesters. Maesters play an integral role in Westerosi society, serving as scholars, healers, and advisors to the nobility of the Seven Kingdoms. This venerable order of learned men dedicate their lives to serving the realm, and are sworn to occupy a neutral position when it comes to power and politics. Upon completing his training at the Citadel and taking his vows, a maester renounces his family name and takes a vow of celibacy.
That's why he's called
He is assigned to
Maester.
a castle or keep,
And the name.
and duty-bound to serve as its counselor and healer, even if control of the castle changes hands. A maester's allegiance is to the realm, not to any one family. His badge of office is a great chain, forged from links of different metals which he wears around his neck. It is a reminder of his role as a servant of the realm, and is never to be removed. A maester forges his chain with study, and each link represents the mastery of a different kind of learning. For instance, a silver link signifies mastery of the medicinal arts. A golden link represents the study of money and accounting. An iron link indicates knowledge of warcraft. Ravenry is an especially important skill for a maester, as it is he who breeds, trains, and maintains carrier ravens for the delivering of messages throughout the land. There are some maesters who have earned a link forged of Valyrian steel. This signifies knowledge of the higher mysteries, commonly known as magic. Only one maester in 100 possesses such a link, as this field of study is frowned upon by many in the Order.
Why?
It is possible magic may have existed for a time long ago, but most consider the higher mysteries to be long gone from this world. Service as a maester is a noble calling, one of...
In a world where dragons have existed, like the question magic? Come on. Dragons exist. Like, it would make sense, right? That magic could also be something that existed.
vital importance to a prosperous realm. It is little wonder there are some who refer to the Order as the Knights of the Mind.
Oh, we're going to find about the Mad King now. That's an interesting one. But yeah, like, why would they not think that magic, like... Mama cat. What's that be like? An actual story that you've heard from your family about your great-grandfather. But yeah, why would they? Why are they thinking that magic like is something so crazy? I don't understand. Like, they already assumed that they built the wall using like other means. I think he was referring to necromancy being frowned upon. Was he? Wasn't it like magic? Wasn't magic like frowned upon? Shall we rewind a little bit?
For instance, a silver link signifies mastery of the medicinal arts. A golden link represents the study of money and accounting. An iron link...
Yeah, Panagiotis, have a good night. Have a good night. Yeah, I know this was a little bit late for my Greek viewers. Hopefully in the next one I'll be able to do it a little bit at a better time for you. But thank you for joining. And of course the VOD will be available after the stream for you to continue and watch the rest of this. along with us. Have a good one, Panagiotis. Good night.
Indicates knowledge of warcraft. Ravenry is an especially important skill for a maester, as it is he who breeds, trains, and maintains carrier ravens for the delivering of messages throughout the land. There are some maesters who have earned a link forged of Valyrian steel. This signifies knowledge of the higher mysteries, commonly known as magic. Only one maester in 100 possesses such a link, as this field of study is frowned upon by many in the Order. It is possible magic may have existed for a time.
Right, they're talking about magic.
But most consider the higher mysteries to be long gone from this world. Service as a maester is a noble calling, one of vital importance to a prosperous realm. It is little wonder there are some who refer to the Order as the Knights of the Mind.
So yeah, they were talking about magic. They were saying magic, like researching, like that's what's frowned upon. At least that's what I understood from what they said.
Spread throughout the 7
Is that so, Mama Cat? Wow. I'm surprised, like, you have, like your family knows that far back into the family line, the family lineage, to be honest with you. But yeah, they were talking about, like, magic, studying magic, right, is what was frowned upon. That's what I understood from that. And I can see why, but at the same time, like, there were dragons. Come on, of course magic could exist. But let's hear about the Mad King. I'm very interested about the Mad King.
Spread throughout the 7 kingdoms. Lord Rickard Stark continued to serve his king faithfully as Warden of the North. The proud father of 4 children, his daughter Lyanna, was engaged to Robert Baratheon, the young lord of Storm's End. Centuries of peace between the North and the Iron Throne ended the day Rhaegar Targaryen, Prince of Dragonstone, abducted Lyanna. Enraged, Brandon Stark rode to King's Landing, demanding the release of his sister and the death of Rhaegar. Aerys
History repeats itself
for treason, and called his father to come to the capital to ransom him. When Lord Rickard complied, Aerys, now utterly mad, arrested him for treason as well. Lord Rickard demanded a trial by combat. Aerys declared
what Tyrion asked for.
Fire.
This crazy law.
Of House Targaryen, and had Lord Rickard suspended from the rafters of the throne room while pyromancers lit a blaze beneath him. As he burned, Brandon was brought into the throne room. A leather cord attached to a strangulation device was wrapped around his neck. Aerys told Brandon his father was a dead man, but there was a chance to save him. A longsword was placed on the floor just out of Brandon's reach, and the more he struggled to reach it, the more the cord tightened around his throat.
Wow.
Brandon Stark strangled himself trying to free his father, who was roasted alive in his own armor. The entire court stood and watched this atrocity take place. Sir Jaime Lannister and the Kingsguard among them.
That's what they were talking about in that scene.
The Mad King was reported to have laughed hysterically as these 2 noble men were tortured and brutally killed before him. Seeking to rid the world of all his supposed enemies,
man, the Starks have had it tough.
Rickard's younger son, Eddard Stark, and Lyanna's betrothed, Robert Baratheon. He sent word to Lord Jon Arryn, who had fostered both young men in the Eyrie, to apprehend them. Instead, Lord Arryn joined houses Stark and Baratheon in rebellion. Robert vowed to kill Rhaegar Targaryen and get his beloved Lyanna back.
Also, Robert is going to have his opinion on the Mad King now. But yeah, that was like basically the scene in the show where Ned and Jaime were discussing, right? and how Ned told Jaime he just stood there and watched. Jaime said that's what everybody did. Damn, that's a horrible way to have yourself killed, in a sense. Damn. Yeah, the Starks have not had a good time at King's Landing. They have not had a good time at King's Landing at all. But let's see what Robert has to say about the Mad King.
Aerys Targaryen was the last of his name to sit on the Iron Throne. Known far and wide as the Mad King, his was a reign of instability and terror. The Seven Kingdoms are well rid of him and his kind. Oh, he may have appeared to be a capable ruler at first, but that was due in no small part to his counselors, led by the hand of the king, Tywin Lannister. There may have been years of peace and prosperity during Aerys's reign, but it was Tywin who was really running the country as Aerys spiraled further and further into insanity. The dragon spawn were famous for losing their mind.
I'm certain that had a lot to do with the Mad King becoming the Mad King. The Lannisters did something. That's all I'm going to say on that. Like, again, a Lannister being the hand of the king and doing some shady shit, like, would not surprise me.
It was the price they paid for centuries of keeping the bloodlines pure. And Aerys more than happily continued the noble sister-fucking tradition of his forefathers.
I was hoping we wouldn't have to deal with incest in
Aerys's
this.
behavior became increasingly erratic. He cut himself so often on his Iron Throne, many referred to him as King Scab, though never to his face. It was rumored he had developed an obsession with wildfire, and was known to inflict horrific punishments on those he considered enemies, including burning them
pyromaniac?
alive. As his paranoia and bloodlust grew, he had a bitter falling out with Lord Tywin, who had served the crown faithfully for 20 years.
Faithfully, yeah, right.
At least Tywin was able to leave the job with his life and fortunes intact. Subsequent hands of King Aerys weren't so fortunate. Then the Targaryens went too far. The Crown Prince Rhaegar abducted Lyanna Stark, daughter of Rickard Stark, the Lord of Winterfell. She was my betrothed. She was my beloved. Beautiful and spirited woman.
Robert,
And I loved
stick to
her
the script,
more than
Robert.
life itself.
Stick to the script. Stick to the script, Robert.
Rhaegar went south with Lyanna, hiding her away in Dorne. What harm he inflicted on the poor girl, the gods only know. Brandon Stark, Lyanna's eldest brother, was outraged. He rode to King's Landing to confront the king and demand his sister's safe return. Instead, Aerys had him executed, his father, Rickard Stark, as well. There wasn't much left to discuss after that. Aerys feared their loved ones would seek revenge for what he did. He was right to be afraid. Aerys wasted no time in calling for the heads of Brandon's younger brother, my friend Eddard Stark. And my head too, of course. I'm sorry he didn't come looking for it himself. Alongside Jon Arryn of the Vale, the man who fostered Ned and I as children, Baratheons, Starks, and Tullys all called their banners. Once our rebellion began, the Mad King's days were numbered.
So before Tywin tells us his perspective on how he betrayed the Mad King, that was the side of Robert, obviously talking about his love, right, and how she was killed, or getting a little bit sidetracked from the story, remembering her, which was a great touch. But yeah, then he went right in how they basically upstaged him, right, a lot with Ned and the Tully house Tully, where Catelyn is from.
As Aerys Targaryen's behavior grew more and more erratic, the task of ruling the Seven Kingdoms fell to me, Tywin Lannister. I had served Aerys for nearly 20 years, and as a result, the realm had prospered. The royal coffers were full, the land was at peace.
Yeah, Robert's voice is very, very distinct, definitely.
But Aerys grew increasingly hostile, jealous of the success many credited to me. My power and influence unnerved him. The captain of my personal guard,
Just the bunch
Payne,
of...
was once overheard making offhand comments regarding who was the true ruler of Westeros. When the king was given this information, he had Ilyn Payne's tongue ripped out with hot pincers. It was my desire to unite the houses of Lannister and Targaryen through marriage. My daughter Cersei would marry Aerys' eldest son, Prince Rhaegar.
Yeah, no, Cersei would never do that. Don't you have anybody with a Lannister as the last name? Then maybe she would consider.
Such a union made perfect sense for all parties.
Well, no, I shouldn't say that because it's marriage we're talking about. So she would marry somebody for the power. That she did. So yeah.
However,
it's other things she wouldn't do.
Aerys' senses had begun to leave him quite some time earlier. Instead of uniting the royal family with its most loyal and powerful ally, Aerys chose instead to insult my family, indicating that such a match was beneath Rhaegar. Instead, he chose Elia Martell of Dorne to be Rhaegar's wife. As if to rub salt in my wounds, Aerys appointed Jaime, my son, to the King's Guard. The King's Guard may be an honor for lesser families than ours, but it is a lifetime appointment that forces him to renounce all family holdings. This creates a difficulty in naming an heir to Casterly Rock. But Aerys knew all that. I had grown tired of the King's constant provocation. Thus, I resigned my post as Aerys' hand and returned to Casterly Rock with my considerable forces. When Robert Baratheon rebelled against the throne, Aerys grew fearful that I would join with Robert's forces and rise against him. He thought himself clever and kept Jaime very close, as if warning me. He sunk deeper and deeper into delusion, paranoia, and violence. I've heard it said he became obsessed with wildfire, a substance which, once lit, cannot be extinguished. Convinced he had enemies all around him, he wouldn't allow blades in his presence, save for those of his King's Guard. Alas, that proved to be his undoing.
Because Jaime Lannister stabbed him quite literally in the back, right? So yeah, I'm sure we're going to see or hear more about the Mad King in future seasons. Obviously, it's a lot of things that happened during his reign that are impacting the characters currently and the Seven Kingdoms to an extent currently. It's really interesting to find out that Tywin was the hand of the king during Mad King's reign. It surprised me not at all, to be honest with you. If we go by what we saw in the first season, it would make perfect sense that the Lannisters had again something to do with the Mad King, essentially becoming the Mad King, basically driving him nuts. But maybe I'm just like influenced by the events of the previous season, and Tywin was actually indeed a good hand to the king, but I highly doubt it. Ilyn Payne is the guy who Joffrey had beheaded. Oh, the executioner? Is that the executioner? You hear tidbits of the Mad King in later seasons. Excuse me. Yeah, that would make sense. I expect to hear more of the Mad King. Probably like just looming like his backstory and the events that took place. Maybe informing characters of what they should be probably aware of in future seasons. Oh, right. Right. He had his tongue cut out, right. But yeah, I expect to hear more about the Mad King in future seasons. Definitely. I mean, the story to me is very interesting. Like, it would be a shame if they did not like give us more details about his reign. But if I am to blame anybody, I'm going to blame the Lannisters again for the Mad King becoming the Mad King. They played a part in that, I'm sure. They drove the guy crazy. They poured something into his drink. I don't know. It would not surprise me at all with that family. But let's go into the House of Targaryen.
The Targaryen dynasty united the Seven Kingdoms and lasted nearly 3 centuries. It was a dynasty.
I wanted to say about that when they were explaining how under the Targaryens the Seven Kingdoms were basically like united. Wouldn't that be a preferable way to run things than the current setup? I think King Robert in the previous season, the season that I watched, kind of mentioned that, hinted at that a little bit. The Seven Kingdoms are just too divided right now, I feel like, by being 7 kingdoms. Under the Targaryens, under one ruler, maybe it was even like, for the people, maybe it was better, that situation. I don't know. But as they say, like, strength in numbers and unity is very, very important. But again, I don't quite know like what type of rulers the Targaryen were. Were they decent until like the Mad King went mad? What was the situation like under their rule to a great extent? Maybe it was better than it is right now, you know. That to me like seems like a more functional way for that area to be governed instead of being like separated. I don't know.
Fire, sealed in blood, and destroyed by rebellion. The Targaryens are blood of the dragon, descended from the nobility of ancient Valyria, a once mighty empire in the east. When the cataclysmic doom laid waste to Valyria and its people, the
You learn more about that when you watch House of Dragon. So I've heard of House of Dragon. I assume this is like this is the show after Game of Thrones, right? Probably they expand more on the Targaryen story. Yeah, Mama Cat, that would make sense, right? But like outside of the Lannisters, obviously, because every other family, yeah, there were good and bad, but the Lannisters, well, no, Tyrion. Let's not do our boy Tyrion dirty, but he's only like, he's half Lannister. No, not really. It's made after Game of Thrones, but it's a prequel, so yeah, that's what I meant after. Yeah, I wasn't talking specifically about the events. Yeah, it was made after Game of Thrones, but a prequel. That would be very interesting. But I still have like seven seasons of the original show to go through, so we don't have to worry about House of the Dragon until way later. But yeah, I'd love to find out more about the Targaryens in general. And really, I like that you told me this about this show, because I do think that a series based on the events that they're talking about right now, like what happened in the past, would be very, very entertaining and interesting. Is it so good? I have not even heard like any type of opinions on it. I know Game of Thrones fans liked it to a degree.
Targaryens survived, having settled on the island fortress of Dragonstone years before. They remained there for a century, until the rise of Aegon the Conqueror.
Yeah, only 79.
Instead of attempting to reclaim the eastern
like
lands of his
it goes back like
ancestors,
that.
Aegon
Yes, sir, let's go back a little
until
bit.
the rise of Aegon the Conqueror. Instead of attempting to reclaim the eastern lands of his ancestors, Aegon sailed west for the Seven Kingdoms, his sisters Visenya and Rhaenys at his side. To keep the bloodlines pure, Aegon continued the custom of his Valyrian ancestors and took both of his sisters to wife. Together, they came ashore on the eastern coast of Westeros. Their blazon, a dragon with 3 heads, representing Aegon and his sister wives. Their words...
The term sister wives is insane. The term sister wives being used in any context, sickening. He said sister wives. He said it so casually too.
Fire and blood. While their host was small in comparison to the armies of Westeros that awaited them, Aegon and his sisters had a secret weapon. The last of the dragons. He conquered every kingdom save Dorne, which eventually bowed to Targaryen rule a century later.
So
He
dragons
had
are
the
just
swords of his
OP.
enemies melted down by the fiery breath of his dragon, Balerion the Black Dread, and forged into the Iron Throne. The capital city of King's Land.
That's why when forgetting his name, but like, was he the commander of the King's Landing like army when he was stripped of his badge by Joffrey? He threw the sword and he told him burn it or melt it down with the rest of them, something like that. The throne is made out of... Oh, that's great. That's great information right there.
He had the swords of his enemies melted down by the fiery breath of his dragon, Balerion the Black Dread, and forged into the Iron Throne.
Sick throne.
The capital city of King's Landing was built on the eastern coast, where Aegon and his sisters first came ashore. And Aegon ordered the construction of a royal castle on its highest hill, the Red Keep. For 300 years, the Targaryen dynasty stayed strong in the face of rebellion, civil war, and plague. But the line of Dragon Kings was broken when my father, Aerys Targaryen, the second of his name, was overthrown in rebellion. My father was betrayed and slaughtered by Ser Jaime Lannister, a member of his own Kingsguard. His son and heir, my brother Rhaegar, perished on the field of battle at the hands of Robert Baratheon, who claimed the Iron Throne for himself. And so today, the only surviving members of the storied Targaryen dynasty are myself, Prince Viserys,
Not
rightful
anymore.
King of the Andals and ruler of the Seven Kingdoms,
No.
and my sister, Daenerys.
Sorry, Viserys, but
We
not
were
anymore.
spirited away to the free cities of the East by loyalists. Here we have lived in exile ever since, dreaming of a day when we will cross the narrow sea and take back my father's throne.
That did not end too well for Viserys. It's going really good for Daenerys, though. But yeah, definitely the Lannisters. They betrayed them. I do believe that. One of the few times where I will listen to what Viserys is saying and agree with his opinion on what happened. I'm certain that Lannisters completely planned to take over power. Barristan Selmy, that was the name. Yeah, you're right. When he tossed his sword, yeah. That's a really cool, first of all, design for the throne, with all the swords, but also like the backstory. Really badass in a way. Told to go live in basically a home near the sea where you will die alone and then some men will bury you. That was really good, how we found out about the throne, and that line now, when he told him that, makes perfect sense. That's why I love this extras, you know? Some things that are written in the show and maybe they didn't have the time to explain during the actual show, we get to find out about here. And shout out to Game of Thrones for doing this, first of all. That's really good that they took time and effort to make this for us.
Rebellion. The crimes of House Targaryen were too heinous to go unanswered. The noble houses of Baratheon, Stark, and Arryn united to oppose and overthrow the line of the cursed Dragon Kings. While Ned Stark and Arryn secured an alliance with the Tullys of Riverrun, I called the Banners of Storms.
You would have had to tell me twice if asked to go live nicely in retirement. Yeah, but under those circumstances, I don't know. Especially what we heard of his character and what type of a fierce warrior knight he was. I assume like that was all he knew, that's all his life. And under those circumstances that it happened specifically, he had no honor in his retirement. They basically just told him leave. Essentially that's what they did.
And rode out in force against the Mad King and his minions. Gods, those were some battles. Our first victory occurred at Summerhall, where I faced off against an army of dragon loyalists and won 3 battles in a single day. 3 in one day.
Dragon loyalists, I like that description.
We tried to take Ashford Castle in the Reach, but the Tyrrells beat us back. We had to regroup.
Taylor, to be honest with you, I think Sir Barristan will go and join. This is my speculation, could be completely off base. I think I said it too in the reaction. I think he will go and team up with the King of the North now, who is Robb Stark. That's what I think. I think he's going to join them and try and take down Joffrey and the current the Lannisters basically, and Joffrey the current king. That's what I think Sir Barristan will do in the later seasons. Could be completely off base. That's maybe what I would like to see him do. Barristan could have done all kinds of damage at Littlefinger's bro. He could. I'm surprised we haven't had Littlefinger narrate anything, or Varys. I'm surprised neither of them have narrated anything in this first season. Maybe later. But yeah, I would have expected them, like, they know everything. They hear about everything. They probably know tons of stories that they could tell.
My army was pursued north by Eris's army and took refuge in the Stony Sept in the Riverlands. When the Targaryen army entered the town, the Sept bells tolled, a signal to the townspeople of the battle that was to come. As the Targaryens searched from house to house for me, the combined forces of Ned Stark and the Tullys swept into the city. Gods, what a day that was. It's now known as the Battle of...
I love Robert reminiscing of battles, his favorite thing in the world. I love how much he's enjoying whenever he reminisces on just absolute gore, blood, murder, like horrible things, possibly rape. I'm quite sure Varys narrates future videos. Yeah, I mean, he must. Like, both him and Littlefinger, like, they are the quintessential narrators for Game of Thrones, in my opinion. Definitely. They must.
The bells. We overwhelmed the Mad King's forces and sent them scampering back to King's Landing. Aerys' son, Rhaegar, who started the whole damn thing, finally emerged from hiding in the south and assembled his own army to face us. As for the Mad King, he must have been pissing himself. The battle that would decide the fate of the Seven Kingdoms occurred at the crossing of the Green Fork of the Trident River. Rhaegar commanded the royal host, which was some 40,000 strong. My forces were outnumbered by nearly 5,000 men, but that didn't matter. They were fresh, but we were battle-hardened and had justice on our side. As the battle raged around us, I faced off with Rhaegar, the stag and the dragon right there in the ford of the river. I fought with the fury of 10 men, raining blow after blow upon that vile prince before burying my warhammer in his chest.
I love it.
I hit him so hard the rubies on his armor broke free, flinging them into the stream. They call it the Ruby Ford now. With that scum Rhaegar dead and the royal army shattered, our next move was to make for King's Landing. But I'd sustained a few wounds in the battle and was unable to ride. I sent Ned Stark to the capital to face the Mad King and make him pay for his crimes.
Oh, we're going to get Viserys' perspective now. Besides war, the only thing Robert likes more is the smell of blackberry jam. But I really enjoy this, like his whole commentary on it. I just love the way he describes it. The joy he gets from like reminiscing to his glory days. And to think I doubted him one of the episodes early on when I wasn't a big fan of the character yet. He was describing like some of his achievements in battle, and I was like, yeah, he's bullshitting. He didn't do any of that stuff. He just likes to brag in front of his pupils since he's king. Couldn't have been more wrong about Robert initially. This man lived, breathed, like existed for these battles. And wine, yes. Although the Lannisters might have had something to do with his love of the wine, I will say. They force-fed him, force-drank him wine. But he definitely seemed to enjoy it as well. But let's see what Viserys has to say about Robert's rebellion. I'm sure he's going to be very, very objective.
The Targaryens, blood of the dragon, and the last of old Valyria, were loved by their subjects, and admired far and wide as the greatest dynasty in the history of the Western world. But the peace and prosperity of nearly 3 centuries of Targaryen rule was shattered by the usurper, Robert Baratheon.
I do believe that there was prosperity and peace during the Targaryen rule. I do, as I said before.
And his band of traitors. House Baratheon owed its very existence to the Targaryens. Was it not Aegon the Dragon himself who elevated the bastard Orys Baratheon in the War of Conquest? And what of the Starks, the Lannisters, the Aarons of the Vale?
All had been spared and allowed to keep their lands when Aegon could easily have wiped them out. Centuries later, the usurper and his lackeys repaid Aegon's benevolence with treachery. There are some who dare to claim Robert and his allies had reason to rebel. They say the Crown Prince stole the usurper's lady love. They say my father, King Aerys, murdered Rickard Stark and his son without just cause. Whether these charges are true or not, it doesn't matter. The dragon answers to no one. Aerys' good name has been besmirched in the years since the rebellion. He's been called a dangerous madman, a monster, a tyrant that brought his tragic end upon himself. Lies!
Okay.
My father was a victim of weaklings in his council. Lackwits who failed him in his hour of need and let the rebellion spin out of control. But it was not enough. The royal army was crushed at the Battle of the Trident. It was there the valiant Rhaegar met Robert in single combat, but the gods betrayed him.
Hello, River Mrs. Faye. Welcome, welcome. We're doing history lore from the first season.
The Battle of the Trident.
Hope you're having a great weekend.
When word reached the capital of my brother Rhaegar's death, my father Aerys moved to protect me, as I was the surviving heir to the throne. He sent me to the island fortress of Dragonstone, along with my mother, Queen Rhaela, who was great with child.
First mention of
father,
their mother.
My king, Aerys Targaryen, prepared to defend his throne to the bitter end. Little did he know of the horrors and betrayals that awaited him and our family.
He was though. He was though, like 5. He was. But he lived it. He lived it. If he were to tell you. Have we seen Dragonstone as a location yet? Yeah, Viserys came out of the womb like being disrespectful to everybody and screaming that he's the rightful king of something. Although, again, we need to understand that probably their parents had something to do with that as well. You know, let's not put all the blame on Viserys. They were groomed into believing certain things, as have been many children in this show. As we said in the very beginning, like all the tales and the stories they've been told about their lineage and their, you know, how important their family name is, what their ancestors have done, you know. But yeah, definitely Viserys was born just a douchebag, most likely. I mean, it's the wig. When you have that type of wig on, you're going to act pretty horribly. How's Baratheon? Robert Baratheon. Oh, let's get into the Baratheon house. Yeah, that too. Incest too. That too. Exactly. Right? Even though I'm the one who said there's no good Lannister, you have, you know, some kids are more easily influenced by that sort of legacy, let's say. And then you have people like Dany and people like Tyrion. Although I will say, I do believe that Daenerys truly, I mean, we've seen it, we saw it on the show. She truly does believe that the Targaryens are the rightful heirs of the throne. She does truly believe that, right? What happened? What happened, guys? What happened? Is everything okay? Can you guys see me? Hello? Is everything okay? Is it good now? Don't scare me, guys. As a stream newbie. Is everything good? Am I good? Am I back? We're good. We're good. Can you hear me? Tell me in chat if you can see me and hear me. Okay. I would have been very upset if something happened and I had to like restart the stream or something. But we're good, okay. I actually forgot what I was talking about. Something about how, yeah, I was saying before things got weird. Some kids will be easier influenced by their family's name, like we see with Viserys, and like we see with Cersei and Jaime. And then there are those who understand that there's more to life than just your name, your lineage. But also Daenerys does have the ambitions of regaining her family's reign in Westeros. Although she's not the douchebag that Viserys is, she does clearly have that ambition, as we saw in the show.
Ours is the fury. These are the words of the Black Stag of Baratheon. A battle cry echoed throughout the land in rebellion when I, Robert Baratheon, the first of his name, seized the Iron Throne from the Mad King Aerys Targaryen, ending a dynasty nearly 300 years old. House Baratheon was born in the Wars of Conquest, when Aegon the Dragon invaded Westeros. Aegon sent his commander, Orys Baratheon, to take Storm's End. Argilac the Arrogant, the last of the Storm Kings, foolishly left the safety of his stronghold and met the Baratheon warlord in open battle. Argilac was soundly defeated, and Orys took his lands, his holdings, and his daughter. Orys was said to be a half-brother to Aegon Targaryen. If this were true, a little blood of the dragon
half-brother
with that of the stag in those days. The seat of House Baratheon is Storm's End.
Wait, where was that?
If this were true, a little blood of the dragon mingled with that of the stag in those days. The seat...
Sorry guys, I'm trying to catch. Something was written up there. Oh, was that what Robert was saying?
Storm's End.
I was like, we're going to see something interesting, but it was just in writing what Robert was just saying.
Legend has it that Durin, the first Storm King, raised the keep with the aid of Bran the Builder of House Stark, forging a centuries-long connection with the Stormlands and the North. After Aegon's conquest of the Seven Kingdoms, the Baratheons remained loyal enough to the crown, while Targaryen kings came and went. But loyalty has its limits. When Rhaegar Targaryen, Aerys' vile son and heir, abducted Lyanna Stark, my betrothed, my beloved, it was time to act. We raised our banners, Baratheon, Stark, Jon Arryn, and the Tullys, united in rebellion against Rhaegar and his father, the Mad King. We were victorious and took the Iron Throne. That bit of dragon blood in my veins came in well, as it made me a distant relation to the Targaryen dynasty blood of my long-lost ancestor, Orys. The truth of it is, I took it. I sit on the Iron Throne. I rule the Seven Kingdoms from the Red Keep.
So a little bit of like Robert's claim to the throne, having like a distant like relationship with the Targaryens in a way. That's interesting to know, despite his hatred for the Targaryens, for obvious reasons. Dany grew up believing she was to marry her brother and be queen. Did she? Was that like in the books? Dany was supposed to marry Viserys? Ew. Thank God that didn't happen. That's horrible. But I don't remember them saying that in the show, so was that something that is talked about in the books? Or am I going to find out about it later? Because in the show, instantly when we see Dany and Viserys, he's immediately, like one scene later, giving her away to the Dothraki. I mean, it makes sense. They had no throne for him to be king and her to be queen at. It's not only a Targaryen thing apparently. It's everyone thing. Everybody does it. As we are slowly finding out. Yeah, I don't know what would have been worse, the fate that she had with the Dothraki in the beginning, or marrying and procreating with Viserys. Oh God. Yeah, it's a book thing. The show doesn't go into their backstory much. But her brother raised her by himself since she was a baby with nothing but family heirlooms. Oh wow. Oh wow, that would have been really interesting if they added that to the show actually. I would have really enjoyed seeing that. Not necessarily seeing that, but like knowing that. Okay. Yeah, Heroin. By the way, hello. Have I greeted you to the stream? But apparently, it's normal in general. But yeah, they did mention, right? Aegon had married his sister wives, as they so casually said. Right? Like they're his sister wives. Right? Everybody knows what a sister wife is. It's a sister who is also the wife. Duh. I just can't with all this. And like this really happened. This was how it was back in the day, like in real life. We don't even have to just listen to Game of Thrones or watch Game of Thrones, unfortunately. But yeah, the sack of King's Landing. Oh. So I'm guessing this is when they
victory at the
invaded.
Was a turning point in the war for the Iron Throne. While it was clear the gods were smiling on the rebel forces, Aerys Targaryen still held the Red Keep at King's Landing. As Robert was wounded and unable to ride, it was up to Eddard Stark to make for the capital and force the Mad King to give up the throne. Lord Stark reached the city gates to find that Tywin Lannister, Lord of Casterly Rock, had already sacked the city in Robert's Main. House Lannister had remained neutral up to this point, ignoring requests for...
The freaking Lannisters. Of course, it's all planned. It was all planned. It was all planned. It was all planned.
For help from both the Crown and the rebels. Now that Robert's eventual victory was assured, it seemed Lord Tywin had finally chosen a side.
Yeah, the Lannisters drove him mad. That's what happened. The Lannisters drove him mad. Similar to how they were trying to do with Robert, although they had other ways to just get rid of Robert altogether.
Lord Eddard was horrified by what he saw when he entered the city. Homes looted and burned, women raped, scores of innocent citizens killed. Disgusted, he led his force up Visenia's hill to the Red Keep. Upon entering the throne room, he found King Aerys lying in a pool of blood, dead by the hand of his own sworn King's Guard, Jaime Lannister, who sat brazenly upon the throne.
So Jaime was sitting at the throne, huh?
Of Queen Rhaella. Lord Eddard was informed the Queen and her son Viserys had been spirited away to Dragonstone before the Lannisters arrived. But other members of the royal family were not as fortunate. Elia, Martell of Dorne, who was the wife of Prince Rhaegar, had been raped and murdered by Ser Grigor Clegane on Lord Tywin's orders. Ser Grigor and his men had also butchered Rhaegar's young children. When Robert was well enough to reach the capital, Lord Eddard demanded the Lannisters answer for their heinous crimes. Robert refused, and sent him south to relieve the Baratheon stronghold of Storm's End, which was still under siege by forces loyal to the Crown. Whatever words passed between the two old friends are known only to them, but Lord Eddard is said to have left King's Landing in anger. Later, when Robert was crowned, he appointed Jon Arryn as Hand of the King. Lord Arryn's first order of business was to broker a truce with the Martells of Dorne, who were outraged by the brutal murder of Princess Elia and her children. Following the death of Lyanna Stark, who had been betrothed to Robert, Houses Baratheon and Lannister were joined in marriage when the new king took Tywin Lannister's eldest daughter Cersei as his queen. As for Eddard Stark,
big mistake.
He returned to his stronghold of Winterfell, forever haunted by his sister's death and the shameful way that Robert had secured his throne.
Yeah, as I said, the Lannisters planned it all out clearly. They were ready just to start doing their horrible shit and take over. Be it by one of them taking the throne, or rather having Cersei be the queen of the king, a king who they knew they could manipulate however they wanted. But yeah, interesting to see, like, there was no sacking done by Robert and Ned. Essentially, that the Lannisters had already done all the work, which doesn't surprise me again, as I said. Ooh, that will be interesting to see how Robert now tells this same story. Let's see.
For our rebellion to succeed, King's Landing had to be taken forcefully. No one was foolish enough to believe that Aerys was going to hand his crown over peacefully. The Mad King's reign needed to end. What Tywin Lannister's forces did was unfortunate, but it was necessary to secure the Iron Throne and bring peace and justice to the Seven Kingdoms.
He says the same thing, basically.
My glorious wounded, but I sent my personal maester to attend to Ser Barristan Selmy instead. His wounds were more severe.
Ser Barristan?
Even though Ser Barristan was a member of Aerys' King's Guard and fought on the opposing side, that man's bravery and loyalty was something to behold. But this meant my wounds would take longer to heal, and I couldn't ride to King's Landing myself. I sent the one man I trusted over anyone else in this world, Ned Stark, in my place. Had I been able to ride, perhaps I could have reached King's Landing sooner and prevented some of the violence that occurred when the Lannisters entered the city. Still, what Lord Tywin did was for the greater good. Even
The
what
greater
happened
good.
to Princess Elia and her children. Babies or no, theirs was the same cursed blood that flowed within the Mad King's veins.
You don't believe that, Robert, because we saw what you said in your deathbed about Daenerys. You told Ned that she shouldn't have to get killed just because she's a Targaryen. So you don't truly believe this. At least that's the last impression that you gave me. Deep down you know that it was wrong. The murdering of children. Tywin, I think, was so insulted that Aerys wouldn't wed Rhaegar to Cersei. That is when things got worse. I see. I see. I see. Basically, my daughter is not good enough for you. And let's be honest, she isn't. But yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting information.
They were dragon spawn and couldn't be allowed to survive. What would they grow to be?
Dragonspawn should always be allowed to survive. Please, Robert. Please.
Loyal subjects. Ned with his damn northern honor. He and I had our first major fight over the deaths of the Targaryen children. Ned called it murder. Murder. It was war. It was war.
Both.
Lord Stark demanded that the Lannisters be held responsible for their crimes. Was it a crime to put an end to a family of lunatics born of incest? I wouldn't and still won't blame.
So ironic. Talking about the Lannisters putting an end to incest in any context.
In Tywin. Instead, I sent Ned Stark south to finish off the remaining Targaryen loyalists. It was only Lyanna Stark's death that reconciled us. Ned had lost his sister. I had lost my betrothed and beloved. We shared that sad bond together, Ned and I. Through it, our friendship was made strong again. As for the Mad King's surviving heirs, those that were able to scurry away in the face of my fury now live somewhere across the narrow sea. They had best stay there. If they ever set foot in Westeros again, they will face the King's justice.
No, they won't. Not by you, at least. And you don't believe those things about them. Come on, Robert. So we have Tywin Lannister's now perspective on the tale.
Rhaegar Targaryen lay dead on the banks of the Trident, his royal army shattered and in retreat. The days of the Dragon Kings were clearly numbered. Until that moment, it would have been foolish to commit Casterly Rock to either the Crown or the Rebellion. What would our family have to gain in supporting a raving madman? Or in entering a crusade to put Robert Baratheon on the Iron Throne? But chaos benefits no one. It was time for House Lannister to do what it could to ensure a return of peace and prosperity to the land. I, Tywin Lannister, brought 10,000 Lannister troops to the gates of King's Landing in order to bring the bloodshed to a quick and decisive conclusion. King Aerys had been sending ravens for months, begging for my support to end the uprising. In a way, his pleas had been answered. As I had suspected, Aerys opened the city gates and welcomed my men. Our plan was clear: crush Aerys' remaining bannermen and remove the remnants of the royal family as quickly and efficiently as possible.
The remnants, the way he's talking about
alternative meant years
kids,
of further war
essentially.
and a fragmented 7 kingdoms. Our means were bloody. but the results speak for themselves.
Do they?
As for Aerys, it is true he met his fate at the hands of my son. Aerys had kept Jaime close during the rebellion, thinking himself clever in keeping my son as a hostage, should I decide to pledge support to the rebel cause. This proved to be his greatest mistake. For when the time came, Jaime did his duty as a Lannister, and drove his sword into the Mad King's back. With that, Robert Baratheon's crown was secured. The new king recognized our role in his ascension to the throne, just as he recognized how useful the might and riches of Casterly Rock would be, if he wanted to keep it. To that end, I offered my daughter Cersei as his queen. Had Aerys not spurned this same offer years earlier, perhaps things would have worked out differently.
That's what you was talking about, Mama Cat.
Crowned as king and queen of the Seven Kingdoms, it was a new day. The dragon was vanquished, and the Seven Kingdoms would thereafter belong to the stag and the lion.
The way he said that, and the lion. Make no mistake, the crown belonged to the lion, mostly, during King Robert's reign and probably the Mad King's reign as well. And now officially belongs to Joffrey, who is an incest child, so it 100% belongs to the lion now. But he said it, I like the way he did that at the end, the way he said that. And the lion. Because, make no mistake about it, we ran this. We ran this town. We ran this kingdom. And now Viserys will chime in with his opinion.
It may have been an important victory for the usurper, but it was the treachery and barbarism of Tywin Lannister that sealed the fate of the Targaryen dynasty. My father, King Aerys, had ever been a friend to the Lions of the Rock. Aerys graciously brought Tywin to court, making him the youngest hand of the king in history. He gave him power. He gave him respect. He made it possible for Tywin to restore House Lannister to glory. Aerys and Tywin governed side by side for 20 prosperous years. Still, when the usurper called his banners in rebellion, Tywin Lannister ignored his king's plea and stayed holed up in his stronghold of Casterly Rock. In time, my brother, Prince Rhaegar, was dead. The realm was in turmoil, and the usurper's forces were said to be riding for King's Landing. What a glorious sight it must have been when a force of 10,000 Lannister men showed up at the gate of the capital with Lord Tywin at their head, pledging support to his beleaguered king. Aerys opened the gates for his old friend. Instead, Lannister and his men proceeded to plunder and destroy the city that he had called home for decades. As the capital was ravaged and its people terrorized, Jaime Lannister, son of Lord Tywin, proved every bit as treacherous. He killed my father, the king, at the foot of the Iron Throne. The Lannisters entered the Red Keep, and Tywin ordered the deaths of the rest of the royal family. It is said Princess Rhaenys was found cowering under her father's bed and put to the sword. She was only a child. As for Rhaegar's widow, Elia...
Since when has that been a problem for you, Viserys? What was your sister when you were saying all these horrible things to her? And basically gave her up to the Dothrakis.
She was forced to watch as Lannister thugs dashed her baby son's head against a wall before being raped and murdered herself. As I was the heir to my father's throne, I had been spirited away to Dragonstone with my mother, Queen Rhaela, who was with child. as a raging summer storm battered the island fortress and destroyed the Targaryen fleet as it lay at anchor, my sister Daenerys was born. My mother, the Queen, died giving birth. Now, some 17 years later.
Oh. So that's how their mother died. She died giving birth to Daenerys. And now we see Daenerys' kid die as she was giving birth to him/it, because it was a dragon baby. Let's be clear. That's an interesting how it happened like that.
The rightful king still lives in exile.
You're not the rightful king, though. And you never did.
West as Aegon the Dragon did centuries before.
No.
I will take back my father's throne with blood and fire.
No.
And I will punish the treacherous dogs who sought to destroy my family. And the people shall rejoice.
Thus Daenerys Stormborn. Oh. See, I was a little bit confused in the last episode when Daenerys called herself Stormborn. I was like, wait, that's not your nickname. That's not how you were called. But, right, that makes sense. That makes sense. See, I'm getting a lot of things that I actually had question marks while watching the show. Yeah. So that's like just another name she's known by. Because, excuse me, I don't think she has like 2 last names.
In the snow-capped mountains of the moon, standing high above the rich lands of the Vale, stands the Eyrie.
I wanted
storied and impregnable fortress
to learn more about the Eyrie, actually.
Built by the legendary Mountain Kings in the Age of Heroes. It is the stronghold of House Arryn, one of the oldest noble families in Westeros. Their sigil, a soaring falcon over a crescent moon. Their words, as high as honor. The Arryns are direct descendants of the Andal invaders, who sailed...
Tell me these are not Vikings. Literally, like, these are Vikings. These are all Vikings. Like, what is this?
...across the narrow sea and came ashore at the Fingers. According to legend, Sir Artus Arryn, known as the Winged Knight, soared through the sky atop a giant falcon, landing on the peak of the highest mountain where he defeated the Griffin King in battle. It was the Andal's first great victory over...
Do there...
On the
was
peak
that
of the
the
highest
helmet?
mountain
The helmet
where he
had the
defeated
beak?
the Griffin King in battle. It was the Andal's first great victory over the First Men. And Sir
Yeah, he had a
Artus
beak, right?
was duly rewarded.
That's
He was declared
cool.
King of the Mountain and the Vale, and the region was renamed the Vale of Arryn. Thousands of years later, Aegon the Conqueror arrived in Westeros. House Arryn bent the knee to Aegon and his dragons, and were allowed to maintain the control of the region, as Lords Paramount of the Vale and Wardens of the East. Over the centuries, House Arryn remained loyal to the Targaryen dynasty, until Lord Jon Arryn joined with houses Baratheon and Stark in rebellion against Mad King Aerys. Upon winning the Iron Throne, Robert named Lord Jon Hand of the King, a position he held until his mysterious death.
Mysterious death? It's the Lannisters again. The Vikings in Game of Thrones are Ironborn from Iron Islands. Right. So we have not heard too much about the Iron Islands in this. I'm assuming they focus more on the Iron Islands in the later seasons. But that image, come on, Apollon, that image was 100% Vikings. I think they just took like an imagery of Vikings and just like colored over it a little bit. I don't know why, it just instantly reminded me of the Vikings. Yeah, but we have not heard too much about the Greyjoy and the Iron Islands in this. But yeah, there was some information about the Eyrie. I really loved the story behind how like it came to be. I really loved the beak on the helmet in the imagery. I thought it was a really cool touch. And yes, of course, the Lannisters are the one who kill the Hand of the King always. Just whenever a Hand of the King is killed, or even a king is killed in King's Landing, it's the Lannisters. That's what I think. So yeah. And speaking of the devil,
on the far western coast of the continent, high atop a rocky promontory overlooking the Sunset Sea.
And that will not change, Apollon. Is there anybody who is not a Lannister hater? Tell me, is there anybody who is actually a Lannister fan in the Game of Thrones fandom? Is there? I'm not gonna be the one. I'm not gonna be the one.
Sits Casterly Rock, ancestral seat of House Lannister. Below it lies Lannisport, one of the great cities of Westeros, a center for trade, culture, and the great Lannister fleet. There are a number of gold and silver mines in the Westerlands, making it the richest region in all of Westeros.
That's the
One of the
wealth.
most productive mines lies beneath Casterly Rock itself, making House Lannister the wealthiest of all the noble houses.
Basically,
This allows House Lannister...
Basically, it's just like what Tyrion Lannister said in that episode, that I think we were just lucky our ancestors were born in the right side of the wall. The Lannisters were just lucky that they lived, they existed where all the wealth was. It's kind of like Switzerland. No, I'm kidding. Nothing like Switzerland. Unless I don't know what's going on over there in Switzerland. I don't know. Taylor, you're what? You're a Lannister what? Taylor, I'm not going to ban you or time you out this time. Careful with the Joffrey appreciation in my chat. I will not tolerate it. Joffrey, really? Really? I'm sure they've sold a few Lannister Game of Thrones t-shirts for people to burn, right? The people who bought those t-shirts bought them to burn them, is what I think. Because imagine walking around with a Jaime and Cersei Lannister t-shirt on. What message are you giving to the outside world? I don't know. The only Lannister that is acceptable to be a fan of is Tyrion, guys. Anything else? Listen, unless something drastic happens in the later seasons that turns me into a Lannister fan, which I highly doubt. I mean, Jaime's a good guy. I know it sounds bad, but Season 1 just wants you to hate him. So that's what I'm saying. Something drastically changes in the later seasons, because Jaime... Are we talking about the same Jaime who was making like crude comments about Catelyn looking good as a widow right after Joffrey, his incest kid, had unjustly cut his head off? Is this the same Jaime? Are we talking about the same Jaime? Or is it a different Jaime? See, Taylor, listen. I get it. That I get. They are good bad guys. They are good villains. Yes, 100%. They are good. They play the roles very good. The actors are doing a phenomenal job. Okay, they are well written, as is everyone in Game of Thrones, at least in the first season. Yes, they are cool characters in terms of being really, really, really hateable. They do that great. They do that greatly. That's a great thing they do. What about Joffrey's brother and sister? Joffrey's brother and sister films podcast is essentially the same to me as the Stark son, who it's like they exist, they don't exist, it doesn't matter to me. They don't register in my brain. Like in the first season, like I saw them, I think I saw those kids 2 times the whole season. I don't think they had a single line or anything. So yeah, I have no opinion on those kids yet. Like, I just cut them off by association. I want nothing to do with them by association. Lannister Game of Thrones t-shirts. Imagine rocking a Cersei and Jaime t-shirt. A Tyrion t-shirt I would get to. Let's be honest. Tyrion is cool. Tyrion is one of the best characters.
To finance many endeavors of other noble houses. Even the king himself has sought credit from Casterly Rock from time to time. We Lannisters claim our descent from the Andal invaders, and through the female bloodline, Lann the Clever. According to the legend, Lann, using only his wits, won Casterly Rock from the noble house of Casterly during the Age of Heroes. The Lannisters reigned as kings of the Rock for thousands of years, and worked to make it the envy of the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. Our time as kings ended, however, when Aegon Targaryen, otherwise known as Aegon the Conqueror, arrived in Westeros with his army. The last king of the Rock, King Loren Lannister, joined forces with King Mern Gardener, the king of the Reach. Together, with 60,000 men, they met the Targaryen host in open battle. History tells us that Aegon unleashed all 3 of his dragons, slaughtering 4,000 men at what came to be known as the Field of Fire.
As we
King
learned in the previous
himself
one.
was burned alive that day, and House Gardener turned to ash with him. Seeing both the threat and opportunity the Targaryens represented, Loren wisely surrendered and aided Aegon in his further conquest of Westeros. The Lannisters were thus appointed Lords Paramount of the Westerlands and Wardens of the West, titles we hold to this day. Let us be clear, though. It is neither luck nor royal favor that makes our house prosperous. There have been times in our history where some have thought
That
us
and
weak,
snake behavior.
lazy, or opulent. My father, Titus Lannister, nearly bankrupted our house with his poor investments, and allowed himself to be mocked openly at court. When our vassal, the Rains of Castamere, dared to rise up against the Lannisters, they learned how dangerous it can be to taunt a lion. I, Tywin Lannister, led the assault on Castamere to put down this rebellion. I made an example of them, to anyone who doubts our might. They even made a quaint song about the fates of the Rains of Castamere. Sadly, there are no Rains left to hear it. Today, the Golden Lion of Lannister is rightly admired and feared throughout the Seven Kingdoms. Our words are, "Hear me roar." But there are other words that should be remembered when crossing a Lion of Casterly Rock. A Lannister always pays his debts.
I knew it. Of course, he had to say the line. And the scene again with Bran, who was trying to he was asking the teacher was asking him to say the lines of the kingdoms, and he said that, and the teacher corrected him. Said it's a common phrase, but it's not the line. So that's good how they added that in that ending. Mama Cat, with what you said, they aren't burnt in your memory yet. I'm beginning to fear that I'm going to despise these little kids very, very quickly. Titles, Robert Barrett. The Lannister sigil should be a snake. 100%. 100%. A lion? I was actually thinking that during when they were showing the lions, what an unfitting sigil for the Lannisters. It's so purposefully unfitting. What do you think about the lion? The lion fights with honor. The lion is the king of the jungle. The lion, well, that in a way kind of makes sense for the Lannisters, although they don't behave like we assume a lion would, right? We all saw the Lion King. That's not how a proper Lion King behaves. They are snakes, 100%. The sigil is not poor choice. Poor choice. Should have been snake. What else could it have been? A raccoon could have very easily been a raccoon. What's a very, very rich animal? That sounded so wrong. A rich animal? But an animal that doesn't really have to work a lot, but yet doesn't get hunted and killed a lot. Am I just thinking too much about this? No intentions to sway either way, no spoilers from Mama Cat. Thank you, I really, really appreciate it. Listen, there's only one way I'm leaning right now towards the Lannisters. And hearing about the other children being equally horrible isn't going to sway me in any other way. But thank you for not giving away any spoilers. They are prideful, yes, Taylor, they're definitely prideful. Yes. I guess. A hyena, yes, that's perfect. That's so perfect. And I should have thought of that, since I was already thinking about the Lion King. I should have thought of the hyenas, definitely. That's a good sigil for the Lannisters. Snake, hyena, and I was thinking of another one and I just completely lost it. So, but I love the hyena idea and the snake idea. Although snakes are really, really cool in my eyes, they're a few steps below a dragon, but still, it would have been a preferable sigil for the Lannisters. A lion, so disrespectful to the lions. Oh, House Stark now. Let's and this is the last one. So they left the House of Starks for the last, and it's going to be narrated by Bran and Robb Stark. You're fantastic. You've clearly put a lot of thought into this. A vulture, yes. You've just run hyena and vulture are perfect. They are perfect. Yes, a vulture. Yes. See, this should be the Lannister shirts like hyena Lannister shirt, a vulture Lannister shirt, a snake Lannister shirt. They should have done those. Like, I would have bought a snake Lannister. Hello James Cox. I don't know if I've greeted you, but I hope you're having a great weekend. We are at the end of history and lore for the first season, at least. It's been very, very, very interesting. I've connected a lot of dots, although I'm sure I've missed things, but I've also connected a lot of dots about things that I was wondering about from the first season. And I will probably go back and rewatch a few of these later on. Let's finish this off with the House of Stark. I'm surprised Jon Snow is not narrating the House of Stark. It would have been an interesting. In a sense, he's not fully a Stark, so that's why. But he, like, come on.
The Starks of Winterfell trace their descent to the first men in the Age of Heroes. The family's founder was Brandon the Builder, who, in the aftermath of the Long Night, helped establish the Night's Watch.
Start the whole video over. It would have literally, like, it would have killed me. It's about like 2 a.m. right now, where I'm at. You know what? Let's start the whole video over. What the hell? No. I would never do that. I mean, Venice has golden lion on red field as a flag, and the history of Venice is history of economy and betrayals, like Fourth Crusade, for example. So maybe there is an inspiration. That's a good. I didn't know that the flag of Venice is a lion, actually. There could have been an inspiration there for sure. Right, Taylor? That actually made me think. But like, clearly the writers, they were clearly winking at the audience when they were like, the lion, this is, the Lannisters portray themselves as the lion, but like the audience know, like, all the dirty shit that they're doing behind the scenes. It's clearly like they know what they were doing when they gave the lion sigil to the Lannisters. It wasn't like just they picked a random animal. There was clear intention there. So Apollon could very well be like an inspiration from Venice, or from generally like other kingdoms or places where they wanted to portray themselves with a certain look. You're from Venice, Apollon? Man, that's a great place to be from. That's a great place to be from. Yeah, I had no idea that that's the flag of Venice. I wish I'd go to Venice. I'd love to go to Venice and see the flags that are apparently everywhere. And just, let's be honest, a lion is just a very cool flag. I feel like a lot of kingdoms used the lion as like to portray their kingdom. Right, Taylor? I think about this all the time. About Lord of the Rings, I've thought this. About Harry Potter, I've thought this. It's crazy how they create these epics and just they put so much imagination into all this stuff. It's crazy. As somebody who has attempted to write. It's very, very difficult, first of all, and it's really, really like inspiring. The people who are able to just create these whole worlds and make us as immersed in them. I mean, I haven't read the books, but I assume they're huge, like figuratively huge, like they're loved by a lot of people, but also like they're big, and they're apparently very well written, because I've heard that a lot of some lines are in the show, and the show is incredibly written as well, and they used inspiration for the writing from the books, so it only makes sense. So we have James from Texas, Taylor is from Oklahoma, we have somebody from Venice. Good to know, guys. Good to know, guys. Anybody like who's here, might as well let me know where you guys are from. The Czech Bohemian mom side of my family had a lion also. Damn, Mama Cat, you had a pretty badass lineage. Were they like the lion of like the Lannisters, or like a proper lion? They must have been like a proper lion, must have been. Hello from Michigan. Hello guys. What's the time in the US? I think right now we have about an 8-hour difference, right? 7 hour difference. So I think you guys we're at a good time for you guys on a Sunday. But yeah, let's finish this off, and then we can continue chat a little bit later. But let's finish the Starks. The Netherlands, Dennis. Well, very, very good to know. Another place that I'd love to visit. The Netherlands. And Boston. Mama Cat, yeah, I remember. I think you've said it in a comment that you're from Boston. No, 7 p.m? 7 p.m? That's a good time. Yeah, that's a good time. 6 p.m? Yeah, that's a good time. That's a good time for you guys. So, like, I can keep that in mind. Of course, in future streams, when we do, like, the rest of the history and lore, maybe a little bit earlier, so that it would be a little bit better time for me as well. But this was a bit of a last-minute decision to actually stream it. I was actually going to record it, but then I thought, might as well try the stream and see how that turns out. It has not been perfect, but I'm hoping you guys have enjoyed it. But let's continue with this House of Stark, and then we'll close it off.
Legend has it he enlisted the aid of giants and the powerful magic of the Children of the Forest to raise the mighty wall, which has protected the realm for generations. He went on to build the ancestral seat of Winterfell and reigned as the first king in the north.
The Starks reigned as kings for thousands of years, even withstanding the invasion of the Andals. As the southern kingdoms fell and the Children of the Forest were driven away, the north stood strong, maintaining its religious customs and its way of life. Eventually, the reign of the Kings of Winter came to an end with the coming of Aegon the Conqueror.
So essentially the Starks are like, they're descendants of the first man, so like they're the oldest people, right, in the region, or at least like they have claims to like the first people in the region. Am I getting that right? I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. You're enjoying it. I can't speak. Mama Cat, I'm glad.
After Aegon and his dragons destroyed the combined armies of the Reach and the Rock at the Field of Fire, King Torrhen Stark bent the knee and swore fealty to the Targaryen dynasty in order to spare the destruction of Winterfell and his people. he was forever after known as the King Who Knelt. As a reward for his submission, Aegon named Torrhen Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North.
The Starks take great pride in their history and traditions. It is one of the few noble houses that still keeps the old gods. A sacred weirwood tree looms large in Winterfell's god.
Films. At first, I was concerned I'd be the only one here. I'm honest with you guys. I was like, the community post went up way too late. Nobody's going to tune in. I'll just do the reaction like I do the recordings. But I'm happy you guys have joined, and I'm happy you guys are enjoying yourselves. And just thank you for the support as well, because like I started doing reactions like barely a month ago, at least the Game of Thrones reactions, and you guys have been fantastic with your support, so thank you. It makes it even better when I know that I have you guys that are enjoying the reactions that I do.
Fealty to the Targaryen dynasty in order to spare the destruction of Winterfell and his people. He was forever after known as the King Who Knelt. As a reward for his submission, Aegon named Torrhen Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North.
The Starks take great pride in their history and traditions. It is one of the few noble houses that still keeps the old gods. A sacred weirwood tree looms large in Winterfell's godswood. Its ancestral sword, Ice, was forged in ancient Valyria and has been passed down through the generations. House Stark remains steadfast in its support of the Night's Watch, even as the once illustrious order has fallen on hard times. Much like their sigil, the Grey Direwolf, House Stark is the stuff of legend in the north and throughout the Seven Kingdoms. And their family words, "Winter is coming,"
serve as a reminder of their beginnings in the wake of the long night, and a grim portent of things to come.
That was a great way to end. That was a great way to end. Man. That was a great way to end. Because, yeah, that was the first thing I remember Ned Stark saying in the first episode, "Winter is coming." And knowing now, as I said, that it's in a way to remind people of the importance of the Night's Watch, it's a very, very good saying to have, because winter is coming, and apparently nobody's ready for it. But the Starks have been trying to maintain like that belief in the Night's Watch and its importance, and also the fact that they are apparently descendants of the oldest people, and they maintain the traditions and the beliefs in the old gods as well. I think it's one of the main reasons why I really, really appreciate the Starks in general in the show. At least in Westeros, easily the best family, the best house, however you want to call it. But yeah, this was the history and lore of season 1, guys. I really, really enjoyed it. It had a lot of interesting info, helped me connect dots about some question marks that I had about certain lines, certain titles, certain territories, certain names from the first season. And yeah, and I also really enjoyed the voiceovers. In particular, I'd say the ones that I enjoyed the most was Robert and Tywin, in a way. I think those were, like, as far as the way they narrated, the ones I probably enjoyed the most. Viserys was cool. He was cool. He had some funny moments, like the delivery of the word dragons. I thought it was hilarious. And overall, it was a very, very good video. I am a little bit upset that I did not get Daenerys commentary. I am expecting it in like the other ones. I'm upset that I did not get Littlefinger and Varys commentary. Apparently, you guys told me in the future ones they will be commentating. Who else would I have liked to hear from? Tyrion. We didn't get Tyrion in any of them. Any commentary about the Lannisters? Any commentary about brothels? I don't know. Whores? Something Tyrion would like to talk about? I'd love to hear from Tyrion as well. You could always do a mid-season character tier list. I could. I don't know about mid-season. I could do an end season tier list and just do like season 1, season 2 when I finish with season 2. That's something that could be fun to do, especially as a live stream with chat. Like, we could argue all day about how the Lannisters do not deserve any love. This history and lores are such a fundamental part of understanding things. I didn't know about them until 2 years ago. Would have helped me when watching live. Definitely. I don't know, were these, when the show originally released, available? Because in the way that they were narrated, it made me think that they probably were released alongside the episodes, the season, because, you know, you have Robert talking as if he's still alive. You have Viserys talking as if he's still alive, you know, so those could have been released when those episodes officially aired. I just don't know if they were released on YouTube. Were they like extras in collections of like, I don't know. Were DVDs still a thing when Game of Thrones was running, season 1? Was that 2013, 12? I don't. Were DVDs still a thing? So like, were they these extras on like a disc or something, a collectible, like whatever? Because that's how, like, the way the narration was made me think of they could have been released like separately while the season was going. And yeah, they definitely help add a lot of missing pieces and just give you a better understanding. And again, I'm sure I missed some details that if I go back and re-listen to them and even pay more close attention to maybe the drawings a little bit, although I'm not sure, like, the drawings were very beautiful, but they were like just accompanying the overall narration. And I'll make sure, like, if I listen to something in future reactions or somebody says something that I could trace back in this one, I will probably go back and do a double take. Yeah, Taylor, it's been very fun. It's been not the smoothest, but it's the first stream, so like things are expected to not go smooth on the first stream. I expect things to not go smooth in future streams as well. It's just the way streaming is. But I'm very, very glad you guys tuned in, and I'm very glad that you guys enjoyed this reaction. Charles Dance, Tywin is one of a kind. Even now when I watch this show, I still learn new things each time I watch it. Definitely, I can see that. This is one of those type of shows. Because you can tell there's a lot of care in the writing. And when the book is already, and the world that these characters exist in is already so big, so rich, like, obviously there are things that, especially when you start reading, maybe read the books, then you watch this videos explaining lore and stuff, then you go back and rewatch things and you start piecing everything together, I'm sure that Game of Thrones has big time rewatchability. Yeah, remember, I think you said that in one of the comments as well, Mama Cat. It happens to me all the time in movies, shows that I watch reactions of. Like, a reactor will notice something and I'll be like, I watched this film 20 times. How have I not seen that? And it always blows my mind, like where somebody's mind goes and they catch something that I didn't. Next stream will want fireworks and dancing elephants. We had fireworks. For whatever reason, somebody was, I don't know what they were celebrating, but there was fireworks for a second. I don't know if you guys heard them among the many sounds that happened outside my window, which is right next to my desk. But there were fireworks, no elephants this stream. We'll see what we can do for future streams about elephants, especially dancing elephants. That will be very, very difficult, but I'll try, I guess. But yeah, guys, my third time through the show, I finally watched with subtitles. Subtitles are a lifesaver, especially for me as a non-native speaker. Like, subtitles are a lifesaver. Definitely, especially about some, like, catching names and regions, especially, and like, and I still am unable to catch a lot of them. But yeah, definitely subtitles are a lifesaver. Absolutely. But yeah, guys, I'm glad you guys tuned in. I hope you guys really enjoyed this reaction. As I said in the beginning of the video, at the beginning of the stream rather, there will be the vote of the video for whoever tuned in midway or in the last few moments, like James Cox did, or anybody who is watching this later on as a vote. It will be available, obviously, and yeah. Earlier it sounded like they were filming Fast and Furious 15 next to you. I cannot explain to you guys who are not living in Greece how horrible motorbikes sounds are. It's like they purposefully try to modify the exhaust of the motorcycle to make more sound. It's the worst thing in the world. It's like a sign, like they try to show dominance by how loud the exhaust of the motorcycle is. It's bizarre. I don't understand it, and it does sound horrible. I'm sorry you guys had to deal with that. Usually I try to do some work with the audio in the editing to like limit some sounds, and still they get picked up. So that's what happens when you don't have like great soundproofing, I guess. Again, we will work on all of those things here in Greek Guy Reacts Productions, and we'll try to improve the quality step by step, guys. But yeah, guys, I just want to thank you. They do that in the US too? I didn't know that. Yeah. Just horrible, stupid. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how some people's brain works. Really. By the way, guys, I said at the start of the stream as well, season 2, I'm starting season 2 next week, so expect the season 2 episodes to be dropping next week. I can't wait to get into season 2. Hope you guys are ready to see me freak out more about more key characters that I'm sure will suffer. If you guys have any recommendations about any shows, reactions, movie reactions, feel free to let me know. We already had some recommendations about The Walking Dead in the start of the stream, which I do consider starting on the channel, and some other shows and movies. Loud Pipe saves lives. Harley Davidsons. I don't know if I believe that, Mama Cat. I really don't, especially when you're trying to sleep. I don't think that less sleep saves lives. I really don't. But yeah, about the season 2 episodes, they're dropping next week. If you guys have any recommendations, I'm open to recommendations. I really hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I do have to start ending right now because it's gotten way past a reasonable time for me to be awake, because I have to wake up early on a Monday. So again, I really felt the need to put this out before I start season 2, so that I could go into season 2 fully caught up, having watched, having been informed more about the lore and all that stuff, and I can go into season 2 ready to just experience all of it with you guys. Again, thank you anybody who has tuned in, anybody who is still in chat, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, a really good start to your week, depending on where you are watching this. I really enjoyed this stream. I really hope you guys did too. Thank you for the support, and yeah, I don't know guys, get some sleep. Good night. Yes, they do sound awful, they do. But yeah guys, I'm going to close out now. Good night, good evening, depending, and yeah, again, a big thank you to anybody who has tuned in. I hope you guys had a good time despite the difficulties, and I will see you all in future reaction videos. Yeah, that's the plan, that's the goal. And wait, I do have an ending screen for this too. So yeah, get ready for the insane graphics of my ending screen, guys. But yeah, again, thank you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.